Big 12 Today with Ari and James. Monday through Friday, 8 a to 11 a Eastern Time. Your home for all things Big 12.
It's Big 12 Today here on Big 12 Radio. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league, exclusively on TuneIn. Watching us on Big 12 Studios with Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. Anthony Smith producing on the video side. T-Chains over here to my left producing on the audio side. We've got a lot to get to today. We will recap the thriller that was Kansas and Texas Tech last night on Big Monday. Kansas wins by 3. Also,
was
Big
that
12
game last night? I missed it.
Late start.
Didn't realize it was last night.
Yeah, late start.
I was watching the Syracuse-North Carolina game. Didn't even realize Kansas
You're like,
was
is
playing
there
Texas
another game
Tech.
on?
Is there another game? Was this it?
It was big time. At the Senior Bowl, Big 12 players getting ready for the NFL draft, their stock is rising faster than NVIDIA when you talk about guys like Jacob Rodriguez, Cyrus Allen, Bud Clark. Also, can Indiana's success be repeated? A poll from a bunch of different writers for the New York Times / The Athletic gave their thoughts, and we'll give ours. We'll play a little Valid or Void, Big 12 edition.
Also, huge news today, by the way. Sorry to cut you off. T-Chains bought his whiteboard.
Yeah, it's a big day.
Which will become a huge character in the show moving forward.
It's a big day.
It looks blank to me right now, but that's because he's writing with invisible ink.
If you shine a black light on it, I think you can. There it is. Smiley face. Smiley face, Taman. Great way to break the seal. I like it.
The fourth character of the show.
It's going to be huge.
James.
I think we should each get one.
Ari, T-Chains, and the whiteboard.
It's going to be a big player. It's going to be a big part of what we do here. Matt Tate's going to join us, managing editor for the Kansas site Wave the Wheat, and then Ann O'Neill, ESPN TV analyst, Iowa State alum, to talk women's basketball. We're doing our Transfer Portal Tracker series with BYU today. Mitch Harper, the BYU insider for KSL Sports, will join us a little bit later on in the program. Had my first class yesterday.
Yes, how'd that go?
Smashing success.
I'm assuming everybody knew who you were, listens to the show every day.
Of course.
Yeah.
Huge fans of the show.
Of course.
We do have some new fans, I will say that, so keep that in mind.
Good to know.
A couple football players in the class, so I'm professor / Big 12 spy because I can get, the inside info on what really takes place in another conference.
Football players, that's a new one. You didn't have any football players last year, right?
No. Have a couple of football players, a women's soccer player in the class.
So it looks like you're kind of in charge of making sure that they stay eligible, huh?
Stay eligible. I'm molding minds, really, is what we're doing, and making sure these guys can play on Saturdays.
He's like, yeah, I know you got all A's in every test, but you got an F, I'm sorry, in the class. I couldn't, I'm sorry, it's the TCU game. It's with TCU week.
Baylor week 2, yeah, that assignment's, that's too late. We're not going to.
Looks like you're going to have to get an F.
There's no extension.
Yeah, sorry.
We'll do what we can. So, yeah, we talked a lot about play-by-play. You can really do play-by-play of anything. There's a repetitive, it's just pattern behavior. I mean, I could do play-by-play of you right now, and you, me. So we talked about that. It's who is doing what, where, and the result of the play. It's a 4-step process.
James with some beautifully coiffed hair in the front, black glasses, putting his hand up and shaking his head in agreeance. Now he has both hands up. Both hands are up! He's got both hands up!
That's phenomenal play-by-play. And the result of the play is?
A win.
A win.
I don't know. What was the play?
I don't know. I clapped.
He clapped.
That was the result. There has to be a result.
I channeled my inner Gus Johnson there for that call.
That was outstanding.
Thank you.
It was really good. I think you
Thank you. I should be working for ESPN. I've said that a lot.
That, or you could probably pass my class. I think you'd get a passing grade. You could do play-by-play of Taman right now.
Journalism
He's rubbing
class
his
I ever
eye,
passed.
He's holding his pen. He's writing something on the dry erase board, and the result will be whatever is written.
Wow.
All right, man. Last night was a big night for you. It's a big night.
Why?
Nice win for your Hawks.
Yep. Oh, yeah. I thought you were talking about something else. No, you're totally right about that.
Did something else happen that you'd like to share?
No, of course not. I just didn't know if you knew about that. It's really interesting because there was no Darren Peterson drama in this one.
Right? Like, which felt so foreign for that not to be a thing.
Like, I just, the second half just kept watching. Is 22 out there? Is 22 out there? Darren Peterson did not have a great overall shooting performance. His shooting percentage was very low, but it didn't matter. He had 2 shots at the end of this game that won the game for Kansas. Texas Tech left the door open, and Darren Peterson walked through it. No Christian Anderson. He sat in this game surprisingly with an illness after not showing up in the availability report. Obviously, an illness, something that can come about, and you're not sure of the status. So that made a huge difference. But I thought even without Christian Anderson, they found answers. I mean, Lawan Watts went for 19. Donovan Atwell shot the ball well. But ultimately, Texas Tech did not shoot the ball as well as they needed to from 3. And even though they shot, I believe, 6 more threes, made 6 more threes than Kansas, so plus 18 from 3, Kansas hit the 2 daggers down the stretch. This was a very good basketball game, and Kansas now has won 6 straight, including 2 straight against top 15, AP top 15 teams. And Darren Peterson, man, I mean, he's the truth. The biggest issue we've seen with him all year is his inability to finish games, but he finished last night. He finished in a big way.
That game felt like March. It was March intensity at United Supermarkets Arena in February to kick off the month of February in the Big 12. That dude is a gamer. Like Darren Peterson. So I found a list of ESPN's ranking the top 25. I just pulled this up. The top 25 men's college basketball players of the past 25 years. At the top of the list is Kevin Durant, 06-07. 25 points, 11 rebounds, first-team All-American, Big 12 Player of the Year, All-Defensive Team. He did it all. The only blemish on his resume was that Texas got bounced in the second round of the NCAA tournament. They did not make it out of the first weekend. The other guys on this list, Anthony Davis is number 2, Zion Williamson is number 3, Jay Williams is number 4, Steph Curry's number 5, J.J. Redick is here, Carmelo. I think Peterson, when he's on the floor, ball in his hands, is the best of any of them. He is the ultimate gamer.
He is the most talented player we've ever seen in college basketball. And it's important because there was a period of time where players could go straight from high school to the pros. And so most of those guys did. Carmelo is one of the few exceptions. I believe Durant
was a one and done because of the rule.
The rule, right? Like that, the rule had been implemented by the time that Durant came around to Texas.
Yeah. And the rule's actually been around now for quite some time. You know, Dwayne Wade played in college, Carmelo, Kyrie Irving played a year in college. Like, it's been around longer than you think.
Yeah, right. And so I think, like, that's basically what we're talking about here is the time period in which, and if D. Wade was around at that same rule, so was Carmelo, because that Final Four included Marquette, Kansas, Syracuse, that all,
Correct.
That season. So Carmelo was then forced to go if that rule was around in that year.
That may have been the first year.
Okay.
Yeah, 03.
No, because that's LeBron's draft.
You're right. It was after
But it was shortly thereafter. Mm-hmm. At any rate, 05 was when the rule was implemented. There you go. So thank you, Taman. And the whiteboard is already...
whiteboard is 1-0, Taman.
Well, 2-0 if you clap the smiley face.
2-0, Taman. Great start.
But yeah, I mean, I think, again, like, the ease for which he scores, and look, he did not have a great game last night. When you contrast his first half against BYU and then the last basically 3 halves that he's played, which sounds kind of funny because you can only have 2 halves, but then the second half of the BYU game and then the first and second halves of the Texas Tech game, I mean, nothing compares to that first half of the BYU game in terms of the ease, in terms of the fluidity. But I'll tell you, the one thing that's clear is there's like a Michael Jordan level of disdain for any slight, and like you could see. So I think like the DeBonsa thing got him really fired up. I mean, when they played in high school, he scored 59 against him, and then what he did in the first half, and then the fans at Texas Tech and Lubbock were not kind to him. They were shouting expletives at him and calling him names, and he had the last laugh, hitting 2 threes. The first 3 he hit that tied the game was insane. The second 3 was like, what are you doing? You may want to put 2, maybe 3 on him. But they played him straight up in a situation where you probably didn't think he was going to shoot a 3 in a tie game. But, yeah, I mean, he's got to be the most talented player we've ever seen in college basketball.
Totally agree. That was my thought. Seeing it in real time, the clutch canvas making shots that he has. And you just pulled up some highlights, and it was the Michael Jordan, I took that personally clip, which is so spot on.
It was the crowd serenading Darren Peterson with some expletives, calling him names.
That is he has that it factor when he's on the floor that MJ had, that Kobe had.
Find any slight, and
Peterson has it. And he's a quiet kid. He's not super outspoken. He just wants to hoop. Like, he showed up at Big 12 Media Days in slides and sweats, and he's like, hey, I'm here. I'll do my thing. He was very soft-spoken. He just wants to play basketball. And Kobe and MJ were kind of cut from that same cloth, where when they get on the floor, they are an alpha, and they play angry. And those two massive triples that he had late in the game looked effortless. And the ball didn't even touch a sliver of iron. I mean, just splashing through the net. It was a work of art.
I mean, he hit 5 of 14 shots. So, I mean, he was 3 of 12 before he hit those 2 threes. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like he did it all game.
Yeah, he was off for the first 30 minutes.
And Kansas turned the ball over a ton. They were down 10 in this game in the second half. It looked like Tech was about to pull away. And that's kind of when Kansas came alive, and they closed the game on an 8-0 run in order to erase that deficit and get the lead. Let me say this, too. The fact that Bill Self is essentially coaching 2 different teams, and you almost run out of ways to describe how good of a coach Bill Self is. He's a Hall of Famer. He's won 2 national championships. He's been to 4 Final Fours. This may be his best coaching job. He's got 2 teams. I mean, essentially, he's had to mold 2 teams while managing the minutes of Darren Peterson in a way. It's impressive. Kansas now has the most quad 1 wins in the country. And again, I don't know how sustainable this is. I don't know if we say this is a Final Four national championship contender, because there's just a lot of factors that are unknown about Peterson and his health. But it's a fun ride. And Bill Self has been thrust into a situation that's not great, not ideal, but he's handled it about as well as you could possibly handle it.
I totally agree.
This may be the high point of the Kansas season. This may very well be the high point of the season, but it's quite a high point.
See, that's where I disagree, because this team is surging to the point where they are a Final Four contender, maybe a national championship contender. So they're close to cracking the top 10 in KenPom. And again, that's body of work. Like, you look at what they've done over the last 2 weeks. I don't have those metrics. I don't subscribe to KenPom, but I imagine it's top 5 in the country. They are now the second hottest team in the league outside of Arizona. They've won 6 in a row. They have vaulted into the top 3 of the Big 12 standings and are now a game up over Texas Tech with a win on their floor. That's going to help them in the Big 12 tournament. And the resilience, another big picture takeaway was the fact that Kansas was down 8, 9, 10 points with 8 minutes to go, 7 minutes to go, 6 minutes to go. And they just kept chipping away and chipping away and chipping away to the point where they put themselves in a position for Peterson to go bananas in this game. And, yeah, as you noted, Kansas, on paper, it doesn't look great. Didn't shoot the ball great. I don't know what the rebounding is. I don't have it in front of me. But Kansas was in a position to win the game in that environment. Christian Anderson or not on the floor, that is a massive win.
Yeah.
Massive win.
I agree with that. Look, road wins in this conference are tough. Texas Tech can hang its head on, hey, we went toe-to-toe with this team and probably should have won without Christian Anderson. And I think you saw an ability for them to have a little bit more depth than maybe we expected. I mean, when you don't have Christian Anderson, the fact that you had Tyree Bryan show up the way that he did, Jalen Petty, Lawan Watts went for 19, Petty had 11 on 10 shots. So, yeah, I mean, I think this showed a couple of things. It showed, one, Darren Peterson can finish games. He played 35 minutes. Yep. We've been wondering where it's been all year. Pretty sure without looking at it, that's the most minutes he's played in a game all year.
Oh, yeah, it is, by far.
By far. Mm-hmm. He hadn't eclipsed 30 yet, right?
He had not.
Yeah.
Correct.
So 35 minutes, 19 points. But then also I think the way that Kansas was able to handle, JT Toppin, they flashed doubles, but were able to still protect the three-point line.
They recovered well.
Kansas is 8th in KenPom defense. They're 12th now overall in KenPom with the 33rd ranked KenPom offense. So it shows you how good they are defensively. The fact that they put Bidunga on Toppin and then would flash somebody for a double and still be able to get back out to the 3-point line says a lot about this defense, because that's where Texas Tech has killed teams. You're going to double JT, good luck. We're going to kick it out and shoot threes. They missed some, but I think Kansas did a really good job of running them off the 3-point line at times.
Like, even the guys outside of Peterson are getting better. Bryson Tiller had 10 rebounds. He
couldn't hit a shot, but he still played really well.
And he passed the ball well. He had a nice high-low lob to Bidunga. Flory was phenomenal in this game. Melvin Council made big baskets. So we'll deep dive this game even more here in just a couple of minutes. Audio from both coaches, what Grant McCasland said about Christian Anderson, who was not on the player availability report. It was quite the stunner that he didn't play last night, the electrifying Texas Tech guard. But the latest net rankings, so this does not take last night's game into account. But you've got Arizona at number 2, Iowa State at number 4, Houston at number 9. The KenPom has Big 12 teams all over it. Arizona and Iowa State in the top 5. Houston's up to number 6. The AP top 25, which when it comes to like NCAA tournament seeding, the AP really doesn't matter, which I think is great. Like, let's look at the metrics, the data, the resumes, the quad ones.
It's almost the opposite of college football.
Polar opposite.
Where it's like
polar opposite.
It's a thing, but like at no point is the committee like, well, they're 15th in the AP,
Right. Like, when I go look at polls, I look at the net first, I look at KenPom, I look at Torvik. AP is like number 5.
Yeah.
Right? But the AP has Arizona number 1.
Don't skimp on Evan Mia, by the way.
Evan Mia, thank you. Arizona's got all 59 first-place votes, so they're number 1. Iowa State is number 7. Houston is number 8. Kansas is number 11, and that was before last night's win. So you now have 3 Big 12 teams in the top 8 that will be in the running for top 2 seeds in the NCAA tournament. Like, when this bracket comes out, the Big 12's, these top 6 are going to be top 4 seeds, I would say, based off of all the polls.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, it's a regular season game in the middle of February or the beginning of February here, but, like, tough loss for Texas Tech if you want to be a 1 or a 2 seed. Huge win for Kansas if you want to be a 1 or a 2 seed. Mm-hmm. And that stuff matters, right? I mean, Texas Tech last year, if you have to go up against one of the top 4 seeds in your bracket, in your region, like, that's, you want to be in this position of strength. The other thing is, 2 high-level teams playing last night, both got beat by UCF, who's still not ranked in the top 25.
Right, and they're not even the first team out.
Yeah.
And they were ranked just a couple of weeks ago after they beat Kansas. And you have a Louisville team that's 15-6. You have a Tennessee team that's 15-6. And then it's Texas A&M. This is outside the top 25. These are receiving votes. Texas A&M, Alabama, Iowa, then UCF. So they're 29th right now with a 17-4 record, wins over Kansas and Texas Tech.
In what is arguably the best conference in America.
And they have a win over Texas A&M. That one doesn't make any sense to me.
They beat Tech, Kansas at home. Was the A&M game at UCF?
It was either at UCF or it was
neutral?
on a neutral floor.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think it was at UCF because, well, no, I can't remember now. We'll get to that.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it. All right, coming up next here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, Grant McCasland, the Texas Tech coach, his thoughts on last night's game, how they guarded Darren Peterson late, and then Bill Self on what Peterson did and the rest of the guys. Bidunga and his defense on JT Toppin. We'll talk about that and get his comments. He's Ari, I'm James. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We are brought to you, the full-time fan, by Modelo.
Here are the top plays from this week's Player of the Week.
One chipped away. Kana goes down to the floor. Loose ball. Krivas push up ahead. Burries throws it down.
Terrific play by the big fella. The foul in the last play, but watch the effort by Bradley first, and then Krivas saves it and kicks it ahead. And Burries last year's because they had the comfort of knowing his kid was going to be good.
Gabonza loses the handle. Karchenkov comes up with it. Kick ahead. Burries puts it in.
They rebound every 2.1 minutes. Think about that.
And Burries knocks one down. And he off to a fast start with 9. Remember, north of 18,000 here tonight at Marriott Center. Burries tries to answer and does.
Wow.
We talked about it at the top. No question, Odin's been their best player, but without a doubt, Ja has the highest ceiling and continues to show tremendous improvement. How about that backdoor touch?
Embarrassment of riches and a level of depth with Tommy Lloyd's team to bring Awaka and Del Orso off the bench. Incredible.
They put a lot of pressure on the referees to make a call.
Aaron pass by Odom. Burries ahead of the field, lays it up and in. Elite finisher with everything else he's got in his toolbox.
How long? It's about the time and score. And right now it's a one-possession game, so that gives you an opportunity to let him stay a little longer.
Totally spots up at a thing of beauty. Mayusin unable to hit. Here comes Burries. Burries. They're going to get a defensive interference. Count the basket for Burries.
Back inside Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league, exclusively on TuneIn. We are on video on the Big 12 Fast channel, Big 12 Studios, and Big 12 Studios.com. Our game of the week Saturday that you can hear right here on the audio side on the channel starts at 10:30 late at night Eastern Time. Houston at BYU. Massive game for BYU. They are looking for a quality win in league play. They have some high-profile non-conference wins, but so far against like the heavy hitters in the Big 12, they're over. We are brought to you, the Full-Time Fan, by Modelo, breaking down the big Monday game that was Kansas at Texas Tech last night on ESPN. Kansas led by 3 at halftime. Then Texas Tech, Lawan Watts was phenomenal. Donovan Atwell hit a couple threes in the second half, and all of a sudden, with 6:05 to play, Texas Tech led 59-50. It looked like they were maybe on the verge of closing it out, or so the fans at USA thought. And then Darren Peterson entered the chat. Kansas closed the game on a 14-2 run. Peterson had a game-tying 3 with 1:20 to go, a go-ahead 3 with 44 seconds left, the only shots that he made in that stretch, and Kansas gets the win. Christian Anderson did not play for Texas Tech. That is a side note that is important. Either way, did this game to you, did this say more about Kansas, or did it say more about Texas Tech?
Well, I mean, when Kansas was down 59-50 at the final stretch of this game, and I continued to watch Darren Peterson on the floor, my thoughts were, regardless of the outcome of this game, this is a huge moment for Kansas because Darren Peterson's going to finish a game. I mean, that's kind of how it felt. Mm-hmm. So I think, you can look at both sides of this and take positives away. I mean, Christian Anderson is one of the best players of the Big 12. He will most likely be Big 12 all-first team, right? So the fact that Tech was in this position without him says a lot. Now, they needed to finish this thing out. They left the door open for Kansas. And, it's one of those, if you know, now you know about Darren Peterson, because he walked, like, they left the door open and Peterson walked right through. And it's like, oh, no, there's Jason Voorhees. But I feel like Texas Tech's got to feel good about itself because they figured out how to play without Anderson, who does so much for them. I mean, scoring, passing, he's such an important piece. But they're just not going to win a lot of games if they shoot 12 of 40 from 3. Kansas is going to live at 6 of 20. It's probably a little bit more from a volume standpoint than you'd like to see, but I think Kansas knew that they're going to have to hit some threes in this game to win. But, like, Kansas is going to hit anywhere between 6 and 10 threes in a game. 5 and 10. Like, they're not a high volume, high make 3-point shooting team. They're not going to be. Mm-hmm. But I think Tech's got to be better than 12 of 40. So, does it say more about Kansas or more about Texas Tech? I can't answer that. Because I think it says a lot about both. Here's what I'll say. I said this earlier. These are the kinds of games that can haunt you if you're Texas Tech on Selection Sunday. Because we know that where you're seated is a reflection of these games. What you do in the Big 12 tournament doesn't mean much at all in terms of the overall seeding. And Tech was a 2 seed last year, lost to a 1 seed, right?
Were they
or a 3?
I think they were a 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're going to be anywhere between 1 and 4 again as a seed.
Yep.
So I think these are the kinds of losses that add up to being a 3 or a 2 and not a 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a loaded question because I think the answer is it was a win for both. Because Kansas, we finally got to see what they look like at the end of a game with their star on the floor.
And the ball in his hands.
And for Texas Tech, Jalen Petty played 39 minutes. Tyree Bryan played 33. Lawan Watts played 37. Donovan Atwell did not come out of the game. He played the full 40. That won't happen when Christian Anderson's out on the floor.
Right.
So it's a win for both. Christian Anderson, which this is a weird deal. So Texas Tech learned like 15 minutes before tip that he wouldn't play because he wasn't feeling well. Like he had an illness. He had the flu or whatever it was. He tried to warm up. He was available physically, but he couldn't go. He's their leading scorer, 20 points per game. Their second leading scorer, I should say. He's their top assist guy, 7.5. But I thought at the end of the game, where they needed a catalyst, a facilitator, a guy that could make shots, not having him was impactful. Texas Tech sputtered down the stretch. They made just one of their last 12 field goals. And here is what Grant McCasland said about trying to piece together their game plan when they got word that, hey, Anderson's not going to be able to go?
Well, we didn't have a plan. We didn't know it. So, I mean, obviously we got a plan, but we didn't have a plan for 40 minutes. So, I mean, we just sitting in there about 15 minutes before the game trying to figure out exactly how we wanted to formulate 40 minutes of it.
Okay. So
we had a plan, but I mean, I think we all know what he means, right? Like, we didn't have a plan. Well, I mean, we had a plan, but
I mean, it sounds like he expected him to play. But that's confusing to me. Like, did Christian Anderson want to play so badly that he was trying to just battle through it and he didn't tell anybody that he was sick? Like, what happened in the hour before the game to the 15-minute mark before tip? Like, there had to be some indication that he might not be able to go.
Right. Well, not only that, but I mean, he was a huge focal point throughout the game because he was kind of sitting in the tunnel, and it almost felt like they would have been better off just like, he's not going to play, and then he sat on the bench in street clothes. Maybe they wanted to keep him away because he's got an illness, and so they don't want to get everybody else sick. But the fact that he was kind of like looming in the side was just a bizarre deal. And I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head there, James. I mean, I think like he was trying to play. He wanted to play. It's a big game, big Monday. But obviously the decision was made for him not to play, and look, give credit to Grant McCasland, to Texas Tech for fighting the way they fought without their best player. He is their best player. He's going to be first team all Big 12. Mm-hmm. So from a Kansas fan's perspective, I'm watching this game like, you can't lose to them without Christian Anderson.
Right. Now, these teams are not scheduled to play again in the regular season. Maybe we see it in the Big 12 tournament. I would love to see an Anderson-Peterson showdown. We were robbed of that matchup, and I think Christian Anderson knows how impactful his presence would have been, and so he tried to go.
I don't think we're going to see Darren Peterson in the Big 12 tournament. Just a hunch.
Those games don't matter as much.
I hope we do. Obviously, it's a huge showcase for the league, and it's going to be an incredible tournament this year. Mark my words. The Big 12 tournament is going to be incredible this year by more than just the basketball. But, yeah, I mean, we can only react to what we've seen, right? I don't see Kansas winning three games, I guess, if they're a top 4 seed, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Quarters, semis.
Yeah, I don't see them playing 3 games with Darren Peterson and in that situation. Maybe they do.
Because of the top heaviness of this league, the dominance with these top 6 teams in a tournament setting with other elements of the Big 12, like, it will be the most talked about tournament in college basketball.
No question.
All right, Bill Self on Darren Peterson in the final minutes of the game.
Well, he hadn't made many tonight, and he was just kind of out there, and he's got something that I guess you're born with and can't teach. He's got just an unbelievable ability to raise it when it counts the most, raise his level when it counts the most, and that's what he did tonight. I mean, those 2 plays he made were obviously the 2 biggest plays of the game for us, but we were forcing tonight. Christian didn't play, and we weren't any good, and they struggled shooting the ball and scoring too, but we just kind of pieced it together and made enough plays to get it.
I've never heard Bill Self talk about a player the way he talks about Darren Peterson. He has that extra gear. He has that it factor, that thing that is uncoachable. That thing is natural, God-given talent. He is incredibly talented.
Well, I'm never a big believer in clutch from the standpoint of, like, if you're a good shooter across the entire game, chances are you're going to be a good shooter at the end of the game. Like, I remember seeing the stat about, like, clutch NBA players, and it was like, oh, interesting. Like, those are also the best shooters at any point of the game, right? Like, yeah, Kevin Durant makes baskets in the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, the fourth quarter, right? Like, obviously. But, like, last night was a clutch performance. For a guy that hit 3 of 12 shots and then to go 2 of 2 to tie the game and then win the game, that's clutch. Like, that's he did not have a great shooting performance. He was off. And in the biggest moments of the game, he was on. When Kansas needed him most, he was there. And I think the resiliency that Kansas has shown this year is the one thing that is starting to really show up. I mean, they were down big to TCU and came back and won that game. The NC State game, you think about that without Darren Peterson.
The Melvin Council game.
Yeah, the Melvin Council game against NC State last night. Like, this is a resilient team. They're never out of games. And again, like, give Bill Self credit. Give one of the best coaches in the history of the sport some credit here for coaching two teams.
Mm-hmm.
And now trying to mold those two teams together.
Which he's done and he's doing in real time. Now, I think it was a win-win on both sides because for Texas Tech is going through a stretch kind of like what they went through in the non-conference when they had a couple of losses and everybody thought, okay, what's wrong with Texas Tech? This was a really valuable like stress test for them because they didn't have Anderson. They had guys that it forced them out of their comfort zone. With Outwell playing a full 40, Jalen Petty, a true freshman, logging like 38 minutes, they still functioned, and they were still okay defensively to be in a position to win the game. And JT Toppin had his worst shooting night of the season, really of the last 2 years, in this game because Kansas bothered him, and he had to do more offensively, and the length and physicality of Kansas was a problem for him on the interior with the doubles and the show and goes that you were talking about earlier. But they were still in a position to win the game. So, like, Texas Tech at full strength is going to be fine. And for Kansas, it's like a proof of concept game with Peterson out there, 35 minutes. It was him. They have a dude that can go and win you a game regardless of who the opponent is.
I also think we saw why these two teams are elite. You look at the offensive rebounding numbers, the defensive rebounding numbers. I mean, Kansas had 5 offensive rebounds, so Texas Tech did a really good job of keeping one of the best rebounding teams in the country off the glass, especially on the offensive end. But, I mean, they were both very close in terms of just the overall rebounding numbers. I think it was 41-38, so Texas Tech was like minus or plus 3. But Bidungo with 9 rebounds and 2 blocks. Bryson Tiller with 10 rebounds and 2 blocks. Bryson Tiller is becoming a first-round draft pick before our eyes. Yeah, you can look at the scoring, and it comes and goes. He didn't score a ton last night, shot 1 of 6.
How tall is he?
6'11".
Wow.
So, I mean, his ability to step out and shoot, his ability to play inside out, his ability to rebound the ball and defend, that's going to make him a first-round draft pick.
Yeah, they've got like twin towers now on the inside with him and Bidunga, and the way they share the ball. I mean, Flory's always on the receiving end, but like that over-the-top lob was a work of art.
Well, and when Tiller's driving, you know, you've got to account for him and his size, and so like there was a few situations there where you got a guy wide open streaking to the 2-on-1, and it's like pick your poison.
Yeah. Here's what Bill Self said about Flory's defensive effort and how they contained JT Toppin.
It was a strange game. We struggled with the short rolls. Unfortunately, JT got 2 fouls. So he got 2 fouls, and they got a sub, and then now we can switch instead of hedging. So, I mean, so that helped us a lot. There was a lot of things that happened that probably benefited us because I thought that, with JT and Watts, they're probably as good at playing to the short roll as anybody, and Christian is probably as good a guy at getting them the ball on the short rolls.
Kansas has Utah this weekend. You know who they play 1 week from yesterday, the next big Monday game? It's Kansas and Arizona from Allen Fieldhouse.
So Arizona does not play this week. I think this is their bye week. So then they play who on Saturday? Oklahoma State?
Arizona plays Oklahoma State.
So Kansas
in Tucson.
So there's a pretty good
Kansas plays Utah.
Pretty good chance that Kansas will be on a 7-game winning streak and that Arizona will be 23-0.
Yep.
Heading to Allen Fieldhouse next Monday.
Big Monday keeps getting better and better.
Big Monday indeed.
This is Big 12 Radio, exclusively on TuneIn, watching us on Big 12 Studios. Coming up next, we pivot over to some football. Jacob Rodriguez is shining at the Senior Bowl, a full breakdown of other Big 12 guys whose stock is rising as we inch closer to the NFL Draft. We'll break that down before we play a little Valid or Void, and then we dive into our guests in hour number 2, starting with Matt Tate from Wave the Wheat, covers Kansas, and then Ann O'Neill, ESPN TV analyst, is going to break down what's happening on the women's side of Big 12 basketball. He's Ariam James. This is Big 12 Radio, brought to you by Modelo on TuneIn. Check out the top plays from Big 12 men's basketball starting 5.
From Provo, John Chambi and Fran Fraschilla. Saunders, catch and shoot. He's got it. Saunders flips it in.
40% from three on his career, but where Kevin Young has really helped him the last 2 years is developing more of an overall.
Favored the most growing up, we said Steph Curry. Saunders gets some space and hits. Saunders here. Saunders wandering against Karchenkov. Left hand is good.
Toughness.
We will bounce back.
There you go.
Saunders shoots.
There you go.
And hits.
Yep. This is going to shoot it. Watch how Saunders comes right back around. Catch and shoot. Well done.
Nowhere to go for Dibonsa. Good help there by Badunga. Saunders up and in with the left.
Play by Melvin Council Jr. And what a great shot fake by Bryson Tiller.
Saunders slams it in with the left.
But what a fantastic shooting touch Bryson Tiller has. He is going to be a great player.
And Saunders with a chance for a 4-point play. The lead was once 21. This three has it down to 15. Saunders again. Got another one. 27.
He's going to play in the NBA.
Here's Saunders. Another one. His 6th three of the game, and now a career high 33 points.
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. Matt Tate will join us, the managing editor for KU's site Wave the Wheat. He's going to join us here in about a half hour or so from now here on Big 12 Today. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling, and we are diving into the NFL draft and what it means for the Big 12. We'll have a big draft preview series coming up later this month to get you ready for the April NFL draft. And I think about last year's draft and guys that really produced in their rookie years, and this is just off the top of my head. Cam Skattebo was lighting the NFL on fire before he got hurt. T-Mac at Carolina had a big year.
Huge year.
And then R.J. Harvey ended up being the feature back for the Denver Broncos. Like, the league, there were dudes that we felt like could be really productive NFL players that maybe even exceeded our expectations in their rookie year, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think through. I mean, you mentioned 3 right there off the top of your head. Who was the other? So T-Mac was a top 10 pick.
Travis Hunter.
Shador. What did
Like-
Travis Hunter do this year? How come I didn't hear anything about him?
Because he got hurt.
That's right.
He was playing well. Like, he wasn't, Pro Bowl type level of talent right away. There was a learning curve, which we thought could potentially be the case because the guy's been playing a billion positions and a billion snaps in college, and in the NFL he's got to hone that in.
Shador did some good things. I think, like, statistically, though, he had like one of the worst quarterback seasons ever. But
he also played on one of the worst teams.
One of the worst teams with a joke for a coaching staff and a tough situation. It felt like the coaches didn't want him to play at all. Like, just a bizarre set of circumstances. So, yeah, I mean, look, I think the Senior Bowl in many ways was about the Big 12 stars because some of the best performances via the people that covered the Senior Bowl were from Big 12 players, namely Bud Clark, Lee Hunter, and Jacob Rodriguez. Those 3 shined. Same with the Arizona State offensive lineman.
Jacob Rodriguez has been blowing up with what he's doing. He is flying up boards. He's gone from a projected 3rd-round pick to potentially day 2. Drill after drill, he's been phenomenal.
Somebody's going to get an absolute stud linebacker for the next decade in the 2nd round.
Yes.
It's crazy to me that you could watch him play, see him produce, he's going to blow up, I'd imagine, at the combine. Like, I don't see how he's not a 1st-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
He's not undersized. Like, well, I don't really know what the drawback is other than it's just not a premium position. But, my God, you want a linebacker that you could just park in the middle of your defense for a decade? That's your guy.
The only thing that I think would keep him from being a 1st-round pick is what you just said with it's no longer a premium position.
Not, yeah.
But I think back to, like, the Sean Merriman, Derek Johnson draft. Like, that he's playing at that level in terms of, like you said, a guy you put on the field every snap for the next decade, and he just gets tackle after tackle.
When I look at, like, a team like the Bears who struggled to stop teams running the football against them, like, boom, plug him in. You'll be fine. You'll be much better in your defense running the football.
You mentioned Bud Clark, the TCU safety. NFL scouts are raving about his versatility. He's been physical in coverage. He's been good in run support. He's got great instincts. We saw that on display week after week. He had multiple interceptions in practice. They're saying that he could potentially be a late day 2 pick. He'll probably be a true, like, mid-round value guy. So he's going to be a guy that's drafted pretty early on. And then how about the Cincinnati wide receiver, Cyrus Allen? NFL scouts are raving about his speed. He's got separation ability. He's a smooth route runner, which was kind of the knock before he got to Cincinnati. He had this raw ability and incredible footwork and speed, straight line speed, but he's improving his catch point skills. They love his radius. He's got good physicality against some bigger defensive backs. That was a big question mark. So he's kind of on that sleeper territory, according to NFL scouts.
I'm glad you mentioned Virgil. For a guy that, I mean, as we saw, like, maybe didn't have a full opportunity to shine within the Texas Tech offense because of the limitations of the quarterback position, which obviously came to bear.
You're talking about Reggie Virgil?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought you were talking about Virgil.
I was talking about Cyrus Allen, but Virgil's another guy.
Yeah, Virgil is a guy that a lot was written about him in terms of wild plays throughout. And then, the one guy whose name continually came up, so it felt like a lot of what we read and what was observed was that the offensive line really didn't win much against this defensive line group. But the one guy that consistently did was the Arizona State offensive tackle, Max Hianaker. That's how you say it.
I believe you.
Just call him Max.
Where's he expected to go?
He's going to be a first-round pick.
So, that's going to be
late first for teams that need offensive tackle, which is most teams.
So Arizona State's going to have multiple first-round picks because Jordan Tyson, he's expected to go anywhere from 15 to 20.
Is he wide receiver 1 in this draft, do we think?
The only other guy that seems to be even in the conversation is Carnell Tate from Ohio State.
Yeah.
But KC Concepcion from Texas A&M.
That's right.
Would be the next guy.
Concepcion.
Concepcion.
I think it's Concepcion. I think you're right.
Denzel Boston is the other guy who's getting some mentions as a first-round pick, the receiver from Washington, son of David Boston. But David Bailey's expected now to be a top 5 pick.
Yeah, it was shocking to me that he wasn't. The guy, he's as good of a defensive player. He's as sure of a bet as you can make. He's a extremely talented pass rusher with the production to prove it, and is a legit 3-down defensive lineman. He's not a pass rushing specialist with great pass rushing moves. I think that was the thing. Coming into the season, you're like, oh yeah, Bailey's probably a good pass rusher. No, he's as good against the run as he is against the pass. He is as complete of a defensive end as you will see. Ruben Bain's really good, and he's shined. He's probably going to go higher. I'd probably take Bailey.
Yeah, Bain is expected to be number 2 overall, which the projected, all the mock drafts that are out there, I love a good mock draft. It seems to be pretty universally consistent that it's going to be Mendoza number 1 and Bain number 2. I don't think it's a coincidence that those two guys were on display in the college football playoff and the national championship game. The playoffs matter. Same thing for David Bailey. David Bailey was on some big stages this year, and he balled out in the college football playoff. The offense struggled, right? So I think those games do matter because NFL scouts get to see these guys against, it's essentially an all-star game in terms of all the talent that's out there.
Well, look, the NFL draft is such a behemoth. It is the huge off-season, tentpole event for the NFL and for college football in many ways, in many regards. But ultimately, there's a lot of different checkpoints throughout the offseason to get us to the draft, and this is just one. But, you've got the NFL Draft Combine coming up just a few weeks after the Super Bowl, so we're, a couple weeks away from the Combine in Indy. And then, the Big 12 will hold its pro day, as we've seen before. Other schools will hold pro days. There's a lot in terms of data and information that'll be coming out about these guys that will help to set in motion the April draft and who will go where.
Mm-hmm. Combine's going to be huge. The Athletic from the New York Times, they have a survey where they polled all of their college football writers, and we could probably turn this into a series and do this over the next couple of days because there are some great topics. My favorite is, can Indiana's success be repeated? And who has the best chance of an Indiana-like breakthrough? Because we've seen the college football landscape is changing. The little guy can now win. Indiana gives a lot of schools a lot of hope. And there are a lot of different programs mentioned. And the caveat is that just about everybody says, I don't think it can be repeated. But if it were to be repeated, schools like Texas Tech is mentioned, Virginia Tech, Kentucky. Houston is mentioned several times from various writers. So those were the two from the Big 12 that stood out to me, Texas Tech, Houston.
It's a funny question because nobody would have ever expected Indiana to do it. So the idea that we can then predict it happening again, right?
Yeah.
I would say that it's likely to happen again because the likelihood of Indiana doing it was 0%.
And it happened.
It happened. So, can it be repeated? Who has the best chance of an Indiana-like breakthrough? Yes, it can be repeated. And who has the best chance? It probably isn't somebody that's obvious because Indiana wasn't obvious. Houston's, I love Houston in there. I mean, I think it's going to take very high-level quarterback play. I mean, we can't act like Fernando Mendoza didn't just win the Heisman Trophy and go off in the playoff, right? Like, so I think we saw a Texas Tech team that was as complete as you could possibly be, except for the quarterback position, show its flaws for the entire country. And if I look at Houston or Texas Tech, I think Texas Tech is much better positioned from a quarterback standpoint heading into this season than they were last year. I'm not so sure about Houston. I don't think Connor Wigman's a guy that can win multiple playoff games. Maybe in the future, Keyshawn Henderson can be. He certainly is recruited at that level to be. But I don't see it from, and that's not a knock on Connor Wigman. I mean, it is to a degree, but like Mendoza won the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, he was the best player in the country.
Right, like, and then proved it in the playoff. Mm-hmm. So it takes all those things and an elite quarterback. Mm-hmm. It's not good enough to just have all of those things. Texas Tech had all of them. They're going to have a top 5 pick at defensive end. They're probably going to have a first or second round pick at linebacker. Reggie Virgil will be a top, I think top 3 round pick. Like, they're going to have a lot of picks, Texas Tech, but they didn't have the most important one.
And I think like the difference between what Indiana did, I wouldn't even classify Texas Tech as an Indiana-like program if they were to make a deep run, because they've had back-to-back-to-back really strong recruiting classes,
right.
And they're almost to the point where it's expected to a certain degree based off of the NFL talent that they're bringing to Lubbock. Like Indiana, there's not Indiana guys after Mendoza littered all over draft boards, right? Like it's a different way they built their team.
Well, nobody picked Indiana to win it all this year. That's the funny thing is, despite what they did last year, despite what they brought back, people still went to the Clemson, Penn State, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State well. I mean, everybody – I read the article from The Athletic, and all the analysts are like, well, I picked Clemson, Penn State. I picked Texas, Ohio State. Like, and it's like we see with our eyes, and then we go back, we default. And I think part of this is it's a good lesson of college football. Like, we ultimately, as analysts of sports, we're looking for patterns. Patterns in winning, patterns in losing. And college football doesn't have the same patterns it once had. And so it's going to defy expectations. And the idea that it won't continue to do so shows you're not paying attention. Like, we're going to have the same analysts say the same things heading into next season.
Totally.
Completely disregarding what we just saw. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they're going to not believe in Texas Tech the same way they didn't believe in Indiana doing it back-to-back. And look, I'll put myself in the same category. I just probably didn't look deep enough into Indiana to figure out how good they really were. But nobody picked Indiana this year. They went to the playoff last year, lost the first round. Everybody thought, oh, isn't that cute? Like, look at that. They did that. But ultimately, like,
they had a new quarterback this year.
We search for patterns. Mm-hmm. And I think the problem is right now college football is devoid of patterns.
Right. Like the gap between number 1 and number 15 when it comes to recruiting has never been smaller. So there are, like, parity is real. Maybe not parity between number 1 and number 75, but parity at the top, certainly. And this most recent college football playoff was a great example. All right, we are playing Valid or Void. Big 12 edition coming up next. He's Ari, I'm James. Taman has the topics. We have the takes. This is Big 12 Radio. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league.
Check out the top plays from the Big 12 men's basketball starting 5.
Void transition opportunities tonight for Kansas State. There's Tiller going to work on the spin. He'll lay it up and smooth.
This kid's got so much talent there.
They're an outstanding defensive team. Top 15 in the country in three-point defense, which shuts off one of Kansas State's water supplies. As that,
he can block the shot over the top, as we saw in that last possession.
He's 6'10", 235. That's a big guy doing that. That's a lob, and a stuff for Tiller from Council.
He's getting into a shot, and when you can do that, it brings...
Here, in my judgment, against Iowa State, when he dove for that loose ball near midcourt, Kansas got a 3 out of it. Big-time play.
Tiller with a 3, and the lead grows for Kansas.
Great strength in addition to quickness.
Council
Good pass.
Council to Tiller. Count it. And Kansas is 7 for 9 from three-point range.
They're hoping the second half starts soon.
Tiller feeling it. Hitting it.
Usually went right in the middle of that little Brady Bunch thing.
McDowell, nice no-look pass, and Tiller knows what to do with it.
Little stick in this basketball game. You know, Tiller, a freshman.
Devonsa is on the bench right now for BYU. This is Jaden Dawson. His first appearance of the game, a senior from Omaha. Tiller again! At the offensive end. All game long. Bryson Tiller, who's been great, just checked back into the game for Kansas. He's got 3 fouls. He's got another 2 points. Give him 21.
Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio, brought to you the Full-Time Fan by Modelo, where off-season optimism is mandatory, and today we're looking at BYU and their transfer portal class. We'll talk with Mitch Harper, BYU insider for KSL Sports, coming up next hour. We also have Matt Tate here in just about 15 minutes, and then Ann O'Neill, the ESPN analyst for women's basketball. Matt Tate covers all things Kansas, but this is valid or void. We do it each Tuesday, Big 12 edition. Taman hits us with topics, statements, and we say, is it valid or is it void, and why? Taman, you have the floor.
All right, guys. Topic number 1 has been the topic, really, of the last couple of days. Darren Peterson. Darren Peterson, valid or void, is the most talented prospect of all time.
Well, I already said yes. So I guess the answer is valid.
I validate it too.
He is the most talented prospect that we've ever seen. The ease for which he scores the ease for which he gets to any spot he wants on the floor. I think when he wants to, he can lock you down defensively. He can rebound the ball well. I mean, he had one play where he was able to tip the ball kind of off the glass to himself. He is so good in every way. And I think that's what makes what we've seen so far this year from him so disappointing, is you want to see more of it. You want to see him at the end of games. That's what we saw last night.
This is valid. He is
the truth.
MJ, Kobe, had LeBron, played in college. Still think Peterson might be the best of the bunch when it comes to what they did in their one season in college. Now, we didn't get to see that from Kobe, but he's further along than MJ was when he was at North Carolina. Now, MJ is still my pick as the greatest of all time. He is the true GOAT. But Peterson resembles the closest I've ever seen to that caliber, just the way he plays the game. Like this ESPN list of the top players of my lifetime, I'd take Peterson over any of them. And I think 30 seconds left, down one, who do you want to have the ball in your hands? For me, it's Peterson over Anthony Davis or Kevin Durant or Steph Curry or Jay Williams. He is, like you said, the truth.
Yeah, Cooper Flagg had a 49-point game, and with what we've seen from Peterson, I wouldn't be surprised to see him have 50 or 60-point games in the NBA.
All right.
And I feel foolish, and this isn't a knock against A.J. DeBonsa, but I've been saying all along, I think we played a couple of weeks ago, who would you take at number one? I said DeBonsa. It ain't close now. We just needed more of a sample size from Peterson.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, topic number 2. Let's give some love to UCF, but valid or void? UCF deserves to be ranked in the AP top 25.
Valid. They're 17-4. They have non-conference wins over Texas A&M in a true road environment in College Station. They beat the hottest team in the SEC by a dozen. Their only non-conference loss was to Vanderbilt, who's been the top team analytically in the SEC. So they did their work there. And then we get into conference play and they beat Kansas. They pick up road wins against Kansas State and Colorado. They've won 3 in a row. An 8-point win against a fully healthy and full allotment of guys in Texas Tech. They beat them by 8. It is a disservice that UCF is not ranked in the top 25.
Yeah, I mean, look, I get that Miami of Ohio is undefeated, but, I mean, they are 0-0 in Quad 1, and their net strength of schedule is 350. That's just to single out one mid-major here, but there's probably a grouping of teams that are ranked in the top 25 from a resume standpoint that it just doesn't show up. I mean, you could probably put UCF ahead of Louisville, Arkansas, and Tennessee.
UCF has more Quad 1 wins than Gonzaga, who's ranked in the top 10. They've got more Quad 1 wins than...
Does Gonzaga have any top Quad 1 wins?
They have 3 Quad 1s. But UCF has 4. More than Louisville, more than Iowa, more than St. John's, more than NC State, more than a lot of teams that somehow, some way are ranked higher than them in the AP and the net.
All right, guys. Topic number 3. Arizona, who's been the number 1 seed for weeks now. Arizona, valid or void, will be the number 1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament.
Overall seed. You got the lead on this one.
Yeah, I'd say that's valid. I mean, I don't think Arizona's going to be undefeated heading into the NCAA tournament, but they're probably not going to have any more than 2 losses. Who else is in the category in the top 4 right now?
It'd be Michigan, UConn, and Duke.
So Arizona beat UConn?
Mm-hmm.
Arizona beat Duke?
Did not play Duke.
That's right,
Texas Tech beat Duke.
That's right. Kansas lost to Duke. Yeah, so I mean, they give me the number overall seed. I mean, they would have to lose more than 2 games, I would think, to not be there, and I don't see any way in which they lose 2 games.
So I'm going to void it because I think even if they lose 1 game, they will not be the number 1 overall seed because the NCAA selection committee loves them some Duke, and they love them some Michigan, and they love Gonzaga. And Arizona plays in the toughest league in America. They're going to drop a game at some point. They might drop 2, they might drop 3. But they're still going to be a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. I still think they're going to be the favorite to win the NCAA tournament in my eyes. But because of the rest of the schedule for Duke, the rest of the schedule for Michigan, Gonzaga won't lose again. UConn probably won't lose again, although they've been flirting with disaster against some teams that are not that good. Like almost lost to Xavier and Providence and some others in the Big East. Arizona's the best team in America, but I'm gonna void this and say that one of those other guys will run the table and get that top overall seed.
By the way, I think the committee also loves Arizona. I think you're sleeping on how big of a brand Arizona is. Let me just say this. If Arizona finishes this stretch at Kansas, Texas Tech, BYU, at Houston with less than 2 losses, they're going to be the number 1 overall seed.
All right. All right. We have a valid and void split there. All right. I wanted to throw a curveball at you guys on this next topic. So, valid or void, BYU has quietly become the best rebounding team in the Big 12.
Void. But I appreciate the line of thinking because BYU is very underrated in what they do on the boards. They're top 4 in the Big 12 in rebounding margin. They're top 3 in the Big 12 in offensive rebounds. They're a very capable, efficient rebounding team. But Arizona still claims that top spot, and it's not close. They're plus 13 per game on the glass. They're not just the best rebounding team in America. They're one of the best rebounding teams we've seen in the last decade. When you've got a guy who's grabbing 30% of all misses in a Waka, it's still Arizona, but BYU is doing a much better job on the glass than they did a year ago.
Yeah, but the question is, are they quietly one of the best rebounding teams in the country? And for that reason, I'd say valid. It doesn't say, are they the best rebounding team in the Big 12?
Quietly become the best rebounding team in the Big 12?
Got it, okay. Quietly the best.
It's the best.
Yeah,
that's why it was a curveball.
Very quiet. Well, very quietly, they're not the best. Arizona is the best. But quietly, they are at the top unexpectedly. They're plus 7 in rebounding margin, which is second in the Big 12. They average 12.5 offensive rebounds per game and 27 defensive rebounds per game, 39.4 rebounds per game, which is second in the Big 12. Kansas is at 39.1. Baylor's at 39.3. The other thing they're number 2 in is rebound percentage. So Arizona is ridiculous in this number.
Yeah.
59% of all rebounds in a game go to Arizona. BYU's at 54%, which is second in the Big 12. So, to answer Taman's question, they are very quietly one of the best rebounding teams in the country. Also, Baylor. Did not realize how good of a rebounding team Baylor was before this exercise.
Yeah, they are.
Baylor at 39.3 rebounds per game. They also rebound 52% of misses in games they play. So high rebound percentage, high rebounds per game. Baylor, surprisingly, in the top 5 in rebounding in the Big 12.
All right. The next topic number 5. Oklahoma State will make the NCAA tournament. Valid or void?
You all right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
All right, so Oklahoma State, I'll say that this is valid with a caveat. Or maybe it's void with a caveat. Oklahoma State is 0-0 in Quad 1 right now.
They're 0-4 in Quad 1.
I thought they had not won in Quad 1.
They haven't won one.
Sorry, you're right. That's what I meant. Has 0 wins in Quad 1. Thank you. I thought the A&M win was a Quad 1 win. It was not.
Correct.
However, they are 9-0 in Quads 3 and 4 and have 6 Quad 2 wins. So they don't have many knocks on their resume right now. There's not a lot where the committee can say, well, they have that terrible loss. They don't have any bad losses, but they don't have any big-time wins. And I think the thing that's holding them back more than anything is their strength of schedule in the non-conference, which was 271. They won all their games, but they didn't play anybody. And I think the caveat to say it's void, but they're going to have at least 2, I would think, Quad 1 wins on their resume to get into the dance. And I think that happens if they go from 3-5 and go 7-5 in their next 12 to get to 10-10 in conference play. Get to 9-10 wins in conference play, you got a shot.
Mm-hmm. Remember, the league's playing 18 games. So 9-9.
Thank you.
9-9, and I think you're in.
8 or 9. 8 or 9 wins, I would think, would get you in.
So unfortunately, I'm going to void this. I think they are going to be one of those teams that you're doing blind resume comparisons at the end of the year. You're in some projections, you're out in others. But to get to 9-9 in Big 12 play, they would need to go 6-4 the rest of the way. They have games at Arizona. They still have to play Kansas. They play at Cincinnati, at UCF. They still have to play Houston. If they beat BYU this week, tomorrow, there's no Big 12 men's games tonight, but they play BYU in Stillwater tomorrow. That's the swing game for me. If they lose that game, I don't see a path. If they win it, I still think it's going to be difficult because that's only going to be their first Quad 1 win. But if there's one team that I could see like really flipping it around, maybe upsetting somebody big and getting in, it is Oklahoma State because scoring's not a problem. They're top 4 in the league in scoring offense, and they're starting to defend. And they had so many close losses. They were in control at TCU, gave it away. They lost at home against Baylor a night they just decided not to play basketball and show up at all. But now, with that road win at Utah, I think it's kickstarted them in terms of their defensive end-of-the-floor buy-in. So they are a major candidate to get hot.
So, of these games, James, give me a guess at how many they're going to win. BYU at Arizona, Kansas and then Houston. So 2 games at home, Kansas and Houston. Sorry, 3 games at home, BYU, Kansas, Houston, and then Arizona on the road. How many of those do they win?
So I've got them not getting to 6-4 the rest of the way. And that includes, I believe, they're going to beat BYU tomorrow night. They have a ton of momentum after that road win at Utah, and that's going to be their biggest win of the year. But then you have to play at Arizona on Saturday.
If they get to 9-9 though and don't win any of those games, because they'd be at 3-9 with those 4 losses, but if they won the rest of their games at Arizona State, TCU, Colorado, West Virginia, Cincinnati, UCF, they get to 9-9. Would they be a tournament team then?
They would be, but they would be. Yes, I see them slipping up somewhere on the road because 3 of their last 5 are on the road, and they haven't been a really good road team this year. They've got to play at Colorado.
Yeah, they just won their first road game in 2 years, and it's Utah.
Right. And they had to rally. They're at Colorado, they're at Cincinnati, and at UCF.
All right, I'm going to change this to void. You're right. It's totally void. They're not going to make the tournament.
You got to win all 3 of those.
Usually it's kind of up in the air, it feels like, at this part of the year, but it feels pretty obvious who's in and who's out for the Big 12 right now.
CBS at Oklahoma State is one of the first 4 out. Bracketology does not have them anywhere on the bubble. But UCF completely off the bubble. They're a tournament team, no doubt.
All right, guys, that's all the topics I have.
All right, Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. Special thanks to Taman, T-Chains, popping in for Valid or Void. Coming up next, we chat with Matt Tate, the managing editor for R1S1 Sports KU site Wave the Wheat. Will join us, and then we'll talk with Ann O'Neill from ESPN, women's college basketball analyst, about what's happening on the women's side. We'll recap huge win for Texas Tech over TCU in women's play, and we'll get her power rankings as well. This is Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. Check out the top plays from Big 12 men's basketball starting 5.
%35% from three-point range for the bulk of this season.
And Tad Boyle said he's the X factor. When Ronsing plays well, Colorado typically plays well.
Oh, that's a nice little maneuver. Looks for help and gets it. Another one from downtown. Lipsy. Some freebies, and they're going to need to make them. But I don't know if it's...
Both him and Johnson, 6 feet, but incredibly efficient scorers.
There's a beautiful move. 47-27, Cyclones by 20. At this stage, if we could just get it to maybe 14 by the break. Well, that was a discard. Trying to induce the foul with the flop. It's another team that can play really tough and show some added depth in the league. One of those teams that we saw in the Crown last year that, of course, Nebraska won. And they carried that same streak right into the Big Ten season. I see more Final Four potential within the depth of the Big 12 Conference. So many outstanding teams. Colorado went to sleep on that inbounds.
Here's Lipsy, stop and pop in transition, buries the 3.
A score, he's creative with his finishes.
either hand, either foot.
Well, the way Iowa State's defending him in the half court, he's probably saying, forget about that. I don't want any half court offense. Give me buckets in transition. Lipsy goes right at Castillo and banks it in.
He's so physical.
Radio. He's Ari, I'm James. We welcome in Matt Tate, the managing editor, runs Wave the Wheat, the R1S1 Sports site for the Kansas Jayhawks. Hey, Matt, good morning.
Good morning. How we doing?
Man, huge win for Kansas last night, the Darren Peterson show. What did you like most just about what you saw from the Hawks last night?
Well, they're just so gritty, man. Bill Self's made a living off of having tough, gritty teams, and his last couple haven't exactly been that way, or at least not all the time. And even in the tough times, even in the bad times, even when this team hasn't looked its best, they've shown that grit, and they've won a lot of games because of it, but none bigger than last night. I mean, that was a phenomenal effort to get down 10 in the second half. I thought they played a pretty good first half, but shots weren't falling, and Darren couldn't get going, and And, obviously having the lead at halftime there is always something you're going to take, but maybe they should have been up a little bit more, especially the way they were defending and forcing Texas Tech to play bad, which is another staple of Bill Self basketball. You always would prefer to make another team play bad, and they did that last night, especially with JT Toppin. So for them to get down 10 in the second half and not fold, find a way to just hang in there, and then obviously get the clutch shots from a guy who's been talked about plenty this year. It was a signature win. It was a win in a building that they've had a lot of trouble in over the last several years, and I think it can be a springboard to a big time finish and a big time run, because that was one a couple weeks ago that people were saying they had no chance in, and even as of yesterday they were 4.5, 5 point underdogs, and a lot of people thought they were going to get smacked. So big win, road win, and then of course the Darren part of the story is massive. I mean that was a full game from their best player, who they've been begging to play a full game all year. Fans anyway have, and so a turning point, man. It really felt like that, and obviously it's their 6th win in a row, but it still feels like a turning point.
Yeah, let's sit on that for a second here, Matt, because I'm sure same with me, that a lot of KU fans like. What is the reaction to Darren Peterson right now? How does a KU fan feel about Darren Peterson? How should a KU fan feel about Darren Peterson?
Yeah, I like that wording, because I've been a big proponent of how people should feel, and I don't ever tell people how they should feel.
Right.
I'm not stupid. I know that emotions and opinions are an entitlement that everybody has to their own. So I don't do that very often. But with this one, I've been saying for weeks that it is what it is. You don't have to like it. You can subscribe to the conspiracy theories. You can say there's shenanigans happening. You can be frustrated. You can be mad. You can call him out. You can call Self out. You can call Darren's camp out. You can do all those things. But at the end of the day, it still is what it is. And so rather than stressing about it and worrying so much about it, and I get the worry. I understand this is a generational talent that you want to watch play as much as possible. But, man, it would sure be better if you just accepted what it is and enjoyed the minutes you do get to watch him play. Because even at playing a half of a game like he'd kind of been doing consistently in Big 12 play, he's still putting up 20 points. I mean, there are leading scorers. You probably know the stat from, Self's first 18, 20 years here at Kansas. He had one guy finish a season averaging 20 points a game, and Darren's doing it in about a half. So take it and enjoy it. And, yeah, it's frustrating that he doesn't get to play more, because he'd probably score 30 or 40 most nights, but the fact that he's given you what he's given you, and whatever the reason is, at least in my opinion, is kind of irrelevant. It is what it is. This is how you're going to have to accept it. And more important than any of it, I would take my lead. If I was a Kansas fan, I would take my lead from Bill Self and the team. They have accepted it. They are embracing it, and it took them a little while to figure out how to kind of dance the dance of are we going to have Darren or are we not? But they did figure it out. And now, they look as good with him as they do without him. And I think they're comfortable playing both ways. And whether they have him or don't, they believe they're good enough to win against anybody. And so I think that if they're okay with it, the fans certainly should be too. So
great point.
I get it all. I do, because, everybody should want to watch this guy play as many minutes as possible, especially because he's got 9, 10 regular season games left as a Jayhawk, and then whatever the postseason holds, and then that's it. You won't see him again in a Kansas uniform. So I understand it, but I still think rather than being all up in arms about it and trying to get to the bottom of something, just sit back and enjoy it. Look at the last 48 hours between Saturday against BYU and then this game against Tech. I mean, he played 3 minutes in the BYU game in the second half, and people were freaking out again, right back to it. Even though they won the game, even though he clearly showed that he was the best player out there, they were freaking out. And then
I don't know if I know what you're talking about, Matt.
What's that?
I don't have any idea what you're talking about. Nobody was freaking out.
I bet you don't.
Definitely not me.
Yeah, but and then 48 hours later or 50 hours later or whatever it was, he plays 35 minutes, hits 2 game-winning shots, and all the talk about what's wrong, what's happening, why is this happening? Well, it didn't matter after that point. He played a full game and he delivered. So that's why I'm big on just embrace it. It is what it is. Let's ride with it, see what happens, and for goodness sakes, enjoy the dude. He is as talented a player that maybe has ever come through college basketball, any school, anywhere, any era.
Mm-hmm. Is there a ceiling for this ride? Like when you think about where Kansas is now as a team and seeing these flashes of what he can do late in games for really the first time. Like, is Kansas Final Four good? Could they win a national championship with Peterson on the floor?
I think so. I do. I worry about their depth for sure because that was a tired team last night. And a couple of reasons. One, they're only playing 7 guys and barely 7 at that, right? So that's a lot to put on your 5 starters. They're up for it. They're gritty, they're grinders, they're willing, but can you do that through the rest of the Big 12 gauntlet? Arizona twice, at Iowa State, Houston, there's a lot left. So can you do that against that type of schedule? And then when you get to postseason, where are your legs? Where's your mental fatigue, all that stuff? So I think talent-wise, pound for pound, player for player, position by position, I think there's no doubt they have enough talent when Darren's full and healthy and can play like he's played over the last really the Big 12 stretch. I mean, I get it that he's not out there a lot of second halves or complete second halves and all that, but he's still been arguably the best player in the conference. And so if they have him and everybody else is healthy too, that they have enough for sure. But the depth is a concern. There's no doubt about it. And then you just as much as I just went on my soapbox and told people they should accept it and embrace it and not worry about it. There is the worry of it could be a big game. It could be a Sweet 16 game or even a second round game. And it could be one of those. I mean, if you look back to the title team in 22, Creighton gave them all they could handle in the second round in Fort Worth and nearly derailed that whole thing. You're going to play a good second round team, a good second round game, and so the last thing you need, or the biggest thing maybe that Kansas fans fear, is that it's the second round of the NCAA tournament. You draw a team like that, you're in a dogfight. It's just survive and find a way to get there, and then it's one of those games that Darren can't go in the second half. I mean, is that the team you're going to count on? Is that a team that you can actually say can win it all? I don't know. I mean, the good news there is he's got the rest of the regular season to sort of show if he can have more games like he did last night, not just the heroics, but actually playing 30, 35 minutes, then maybe that'll calm people's fears a little bit. But that's the lingering issue. The lingering question is this thing going to strike at the absolute worst time? And because of that, I don't know that you put him in the list of favorites, but assuming everything's good and you're playing in a vacuum of goodness and all that stuff, there's no doubt that they have enough because the rest of this team is really starting to flex its muscles. Flory looks amazing. He's tough now. He defends. I think Self, after the game last night, called him the best defender in the country. That's big-time stuff because, he doesn't just say that about anybody. So he looks great. Bryson Tiller's really coming on. And then, of course, Trey White and Melvin Council have been rock solid from start to finish so far. So they have the pieces. There's no doubt about it. But, the fatigue, the depth, and then, of course, Darren. That's 2 big questions, but you'd rather have those questions than not have a chance.
Yeah, they're going to be the toughest team to pick in March in the tournament because the variance is so high. I can see them losing the first round if Peterson doesn't finish games, or losing the second round if Peterson doesn't finish. I can see them going all the way if Peterson is able to finish.
Well said.
Matt, help me understand why this class of transfers has worked. Self, it seems like last couple of years, has not done well in the portal, but Council and White have been phenomenal additions to this team in the ways that some of these guys the last couple of years have not been.
Yeah, it was kind of, nobody knew they were going to be this good. I don't even think Bill Self knew they were going to be this good. I think he liked them, but Trey White has shot the three-point shot way above his ceiling and unbelievably well, and has just been gritty and tough and sort of that, Jalen Wilson, junkyard dog kind of player that they've always needed, and Council's been phenomenal. It's really weird, right? I was going to write this today, and so I'll give you the sneak peek or the Cliff's Notes version of it. But how many teams have a guy like Peterson? First of all, not very many at all, ever. Right. But how many teams, when they have a guy like Peterson, who is undoubtedly their best player, can say that he's not their most valuable player and also maybe not their most important player?
Wow.
Those other two guys are.
Great
it's
point.
Unbelievable. Anyway, getting back to your question, I think the answer to the question really showed up in the offseason when the portal was open and when Self was putting together this roster. Because in years past, you don't have much time when guys are in the portal. If you want a guy, you better get him quick, because 35, 55, 75 other teams are trying to get him too. And things move fast, and offers go fast, and money moves fast, and it's there's not a lot of vetting that happens.
Yeah,
but
great point.
Self really took his time with this portal, and fans were freaking out, and that's what fans do, but they were saying, what's going on? We're not getting anybody. Why aren't we getting anybody? Who are we going to add? Who are we going to have? And all along, the plan was for Bill Self to really look at the guys he was pursuing, rather than just grabbing the top 2 or 3 guys on some list that somebody put together, which is what happened in the past in a lot of ways. He really studied it. He really looked at it. He really tried to find not only his type of guys, getting back to the Tyshawn Taylors and Devontae Grahams and Jalen Wilsons and Christian Browns and, gritty, tough, competitive guys. He really wanted to coach those guys again. And then he also really, really made it a priority to find guys that would fit around Darren and be able and willing to play with a guy like that. And he hit it out of the park on both counts. I mean, these guys are Bill Self guys. Trey White looks like a guy that's played at Kansas for 4 years.
Yeah, you're right.
Melvin Council looks like a guy who's that sophomore under Bill Self who's just blown up, and you're excited as hell because you've got 2 more years of him. The only problem is you don't, because of the portal. But more than any portal acquisitions, Bill Self has finally found his guys, and that was very intentional. He took his time, and he decided, if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down with my types of guys, because I'm tired of going down with guys that I thought could play, or I thought would be tough, or I thought, hey, look at their scoring, or look at their numbers, or whatever it is, and you get burned by that. And that's not to say it was all, swings and misses at every turn. I mean, he had a few guys. Certainly Zeke Mayo was a really nice pickup in the portal and had a really good season at Kansas. But the A.J. Stores, the Nick Timberlakes, the Rylan Griffins, those were all really, really shortfalls. They left a lot to be desired, and they weren't the players at Kansas that they were at their previous stops and really at their next stops either. So I think it was an intentional thing. I think it was really about taking time and making sure that he identified Bill Self type of players, and it's obviously worked, and he's hit it out of the park with those guys, and somehow, man, I don't know how anybody does it anymore, because putting together a team is really, really hard, but to do it in 1 year and to find a team that's this close in the portal era is unbelievable. These guys are really, really tight, and it shows when they play out there.
Yeah, he rebuilt this roster in the best way. Great stuff. Matt Tate from Wave the Weed. Appreciate your time, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it anytime, and enjoy the rest of the ride.
We'll talk soon.
Thanks, bud.
Managing editor for the R1S1 Sports KU site, Wave the Wheat, joins us to break down all things Kansas here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. And coming up next, it's Ann O'Neill, ESPN TV analyst, former Iowa State baller, talking women's basketball here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. Heard exclusively on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. Here are the top plays from this week's Player of the Week.
Emphasis on guarding the three-point line, but you got to wonder, Iowa State shooting close to 70% close to 12 minutes into this game. Audie Crooks just...
Here is Fritz. She's got 8. Iowa State on a 6-0 run over the last 30 seconds. Collins tries to stop it and does.
The Cyclones' way. 10-0 run over the last minute 45.
Well, Sydney Harris, starter, Kerr Central Michigan, spent some time at TCU. Collins answers with the 3. She's got 14 in the ball game. Who they almost had to lock her out of the practice gym at times. Love outside, no. Collins, offensive rebound and the putback.
And now they're just as good, if not better in a lot of ways this season, and you got to give a lot of credit to what Mark Campbell has done. The reason they haven't been able to get so many stops is because of the pressure Olivia Miles puts on the rim.
3 made by Snetta Collins. A quick answer from Taylor Bigby from TCU. Just 3 assists for Olivia Miles here today. 48 assists away from breaking TCU's single season assist record. Spin move by Collins.
Open drag to the lane. It was because Maddie Shear was forcing her left. Collins.
That was the 4th foul for Maddie Shear. What a move. Snetta Collins all over in the paint.
It looks like Snetta Collins might have gotten away with a little bit of a push-off. You've got elite shooters from TCU on the perimeter. Ball security down the stretch of this game with 30 seconds left is going to be huge. Snetta Collins
taking the 3-point lead.
How about it? Just coming on.
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn. You're watching us on the Big 12 Fast Channel, Big 12 Studios. Our next guest is in the Iowa Girls Basketball Hall of Fame. She was an All-American at Iowa State, played in the WNBA, and we welcome in Ann O'Neill. Good morning, Ann.
Hey, good morning. So awesome to be here with you guys.
Does work for ESPN, a consultant, a coach, and does it all, and we are super thrilled to have you on the show. So the Big 12 on the women's side is really interesting because you had the two teams that were at the top that both took losses over the weekend, with Baylor falling to West Virginia, TCU losing a heartbreaker on the road at Texas Tech. So who's the best team in the Big 12 in your eyes?
Oh my gosh, you're going to put me right on the spot. My first time being on. My goodness.
Fastball's out of the gate.
Hey, it's actually like a super hard question to answer because at the beginning of the season, one of the things we talked about so often was the parity in this league, and that night in and night out, if you play 40 minutes, anyone can win. And we just saw that this weekend. So I'm not going to give you an answer quite yet because I think it's about the strategies, who's executing, and who shows up for those full 40 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the Big 12 and as a whole, I guess what stands out to you, certainly there's good teams at the top, but not necessarily in terms of the top of women's college basketball.
Yeah, I would say what you guys just mentioned is just how, 1 through 16, anyone can show up. And I've worked some in the SEC and the ACC and watched other teams perform. But here in the Big 12, it's like it is a game night. It needs to be that all-state highlighted game every single game that you show up. And I know after talking to coaches, listening to their press conferences, they don't really celebrate. You have those 10 minutes to celebrate in the locker room afterwards, and then you're immediately moving on to the next scout because somebody is going to be ready to come into your house or on the road and be ready to take you down. So I've just really enjoyed watching this season and seeing the strategies play out, the big time gamer performances, and that you come into a game and you just don't know who's actually going to win it.
And what's your take on your Iowa State Cyclones? They've won 4 in a row, and they had a little bit of a slide, and now they're hot again. And we love Bill Fennelly, just that team and their DNA with Crooks in the middle and Brown when she's healthy is phenomenal. So what's their ceiling?
Yeah, I right there, I think they've really had to pivot and adjust because Addie Brown is one of the best forwards and versatile players in the entire nation, not just in the Big 12 Conference, but across the board. She can play that 1 through 5 position. She knows how to bring the ball up the floor. She is an excellent passer and then obviously can score buckets. I mean, she already had a triple-double in her career so far, and she was really able to pull the defense away from Audie Crooks, and that was a key centerpiece. So her being out with this back injury is a big deal for Iowa State, but they've had to adjust. They lost those 5 games in a row, and now they have their 4-game winning streak. Another big piece was Ariana Jackson being out for a couple of those games, and Coach Bill Fennelly on the USF game just over the weekend said she basically won the game for us, her being in. I think she had 18 points. But what she does is she brings energy, she brings juice, and she also is a floor spacer because she can hit so many 3-point shots. She also has kind of this calm presence that is really working well with Jada Williams in the backcourt. So Jackson being back has really helped Iowa State out. They're still looking for Brown, and hopefully she can come back at some point. But that's what happens in the middle of seasons. There's injuries, and you have to adjust. And, playing for Coach Bill Fennelly, there's literally no one better in women's basketball that knows how to put players in positions to succeed. And then also on the flip side, the strategic idea against any single team. There always will be a game plan, and then he's also willing to adjust in the middle of the game, in the flow of the game, and trying to find a hot shooter or shut down a hot shooter. So I think they've really kind of understood their roles a little bit more in this new team dynamic, and we've got a lot still left to see from the Cyclones for sure.
Who is the best team in the Big 12 right now?
Oh, man. Okay, so just a day ago, I would have said Baylor because they were on that 8-game winning streak. But West Virginia, my goodness, their toughness that they showed in that game over Baylor that was on national television, it was impressive, especially on the defensive end. They turned Baylor over 30 times, which was a Big 12 record, the first time in 25 years in a Big 12 conference game. And they had 70 to 47 shot increases in shots. So they won the possession battle. And I was just really impressed with how they bounced back from that loss to Utah and then performed against Baylor, really trying to shut down and disrupt their entire offense. Baylor just couldn't get in the flow. So I'm only going to give one game at a time, so I'll have to keep coming back for every single game. But right now, I would say West Virginia is one of the toughest teams to beat, because when they play for 40 minutes, when they focus on their defense, which they're known for, I've called them Stress Virginia just recently in a video, because you're going to be stressed out trying to run offense against them, and that's what happened to the Baylor Bears. So yes, I'm going to say West Virginia right now, since TCU and Baylor did both get handed a loss. I mean, you just have to give credit to West Virginia and also Texas Tech for huge games, showing up, and they really played great basketball for 40 minutes.
Love it, and Stress Virginia. That's
well,
amazing.
You guys know the men's teams that they used to call Press Virginia.
Oh,
yeah.
So, Javon Carter,
yeah,
Miles.
so I call them Stress Virginia because you have to be ready to handle the ball and get your offense in a flow. And when West Virginia is clicking on all cylinders defensively, you got Jordan Harrison, who's a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. She had 5 steals in that game. I mean, it's somebody I wouldn't want to try to dribble against. And then you have Gia Cook. I mean, just across the board, they rotate really well. They're communicating. So yes, you're going to be stressed out trying to run offense against them. And that showed up literally in that entire game for Baylor. They just really couldn't find their rhythm.
West Virginia's 18-5. They are 8-3 in Big 12 play, and they have the most wins over top 25 opponents in the league. They're 3-2 against the top 25. You mentioned Texas Tech. They're 21-3 after that really hot start. You know, they're still, even with a few losses, towards the top of the conference with an 8-3 mark. Like, have they played enough high-quality opponents now to really identify them as being a very legit basketball team?
Definitely, and this weekend really proved that, because TCU was almost untouchable, you know, the way that they move. But Texas Tech, one of the things they came out was they played consistent for 40 minutes. And there's a couple of stats I want to highlight from that game. So TCU averages around 80 points per game. That's why we love watching them, because they fill it up. But Texas Tech also took them out of the rhythm. They held them to 60 points, so 20 points below their average. And another thing about Tech that really stood out to me is they actually had 2 of their best shooters, Bristow and Maupin, went 2 for 22 offensively in the game. It was almost uncharacteristic for their guard play. But their bench came in, Snetta Collins came in, 28 points, tied a career high, but their bench had 40 points in that game. And so they came in offensively and still executed, but it was their defense that was extremely disruptive as well, because it was a 62-60 victory for Texas Tech. And Coach Gerlich after the game really talked about their consistency, how they executed off of watching game film. And hey, you got to credit Lady Raider Nation. They showed up big time too. They had 6,200 fans at that game. So all around, the 2 games over the weekend, these 2 main games, they were 2 of the best women's college basketball games I've watched in the entire season so far.
Wow. How many tournament teams, Ann, do you think there are in the Big 12 right now?
Oh, I mean, I think could be 8, 9, 10, and
wow.
This is the key right now is what happens in February. How do you move forward and gain momentum going into the Big 12 conference tournament, and really seeing what the selection committee can look at. And Charlie Cream, he comes out with his bracket almost every other day after games come out. And so there's always movement. There's always room to bump up. If you get on a 3-game winning streak, so you look at Colorado right now, 3-game winning streak, and they're a tough defensive team, also hard to go out there and play at Colorado. So you just have the rhythm and the momentum. You can execute in February. I believe they can get anywhere from 8 to 10 teams from the Big 12.
Talking with Ann O'Neill, a former All-American at Iowa State, TV analyst for ESPN, played in the WNBA, but also, Ann, and maybe this is side chat stuff, but I love neuroscience. I am fascinated by it. I pulled up a podcast that you were a guest on and talked about your research and your training in neuroscience and performance psychology fields. What can you share with us, just kind of big picture, about some of your research and things that you do in that field?
Oh my gosh, how cool. We're going to take a little road trip. I really appreciate that kind of question. I'll still actually equate it back to basketball. So everyone that's a big hooper that's wanting to listen. So the reason is you even heard Snetta Collins when she had those 28 points for Texas Tech say, I was just in a flow state. And that's really kind of one of the areas I wanted to study in neuroscience, how you don't think about what you're doing, but you're just out there being a great basketball player. You know, the Michael Jordan flu game, you know, the 60-some points that he had, that's the kind of stuff that I love studying. And just a little stat on my particular career. I was a freshman at Illinois in the Big Ten. I made 4 3-pointers in 33 games, and I was a pretty good shooter before I got there. But I just had one of those kind of mental handicaps that my upper body and lower body couldn't get in the rhythm of shooting 3-pointers. They kind of wanted to turn me more into a set shooter, and I was a jump shooter. But by the time I got to Iowa State, I still kind of like heaved it from my hip, and it was okay, but it wasn't great. And then before my senior year, I went underneath the rim. I grabbed the basketball, and I said, I'm going to figure out this 3-point shot. So I went underneath the rim, and I shot underneath like 2 feet away, all one-handed. So I had the ball here and I shot it one-handed. And then I kept moving back until I did it to the free throw line and 3-point line. And all of a sudden, in a moment, after 4 years, in a moment, I was able to correct that 3-point shot and completely got into the exact shooting rhythm. So much so, I think I averaged like maybe 49% from 3. Wow. The cool thing was I made it into the ESPN 3-point shooting contest. So my senior year. So because of my own personal experience, coaching players, seeing them go through adversities, that's really why I wanted to study neuroscience on how you can train your brain to be in the future and be in that flow state. And that's when you see players that come out and just have those big games, those explosive games where everything clicks for them as a player and then also as a team. Everyone just knows where the play is going to be. Like I think of Olivia Miles. She's clairvoyant, right? She sees the plays before the plays even happen because she's thinking in the future. I know where that player is going to be on that fast break. And so that's the kind of neuroscience that I love studying. I've traveled over like 60 countries and studied with, you know, people like Dr. Joe Dispenza, who's big known in neuroscience space, and Jesse Itzler, mindset guy. So I just absolutely love it. I'm always trying to add more, like how I can be good on, you know, this show today and teach somebody something new. So I appreciate the question. It's a big part of my life besides just TV work and basketball work.
Oh, man, that is so cool. I'm fascinated by it. Love the insight. I mean, you fixed your own shot and have carried that knowledge to others in so many teachable ways. So that's awesome. And man, Ann, we appreciate your time. Great having you on, and hopefully we can connect again soon.
Hey, can't wait. Thanks so much for having me on. I am thrilled to be a part of the Big 12, man. This is just great basketball every single week. So thanks so much, guys.
Thanks, Ann.
Well said. Ann O'Neill, Iowa Girls Basketball Hall of Fame to Iowa State, was an All-American, played in the WNBA on ESPN broadcasts, breaking down Big 12 women's basketball here on Big 12 Today, heard exclusively on TuneIn. Watched on Big 12 Studios. Coming up next, it's Transfer Portal Tracker season. We dive into BYU. We've got Mitch Harper coming up here in about 20 minutes from KSL Sports to give his insights on the offseason that is for the Cougars. That's next hour here on Big 12 Today. Coming up after the break, we are powered by Modelo. Heard on TuneIn, watched on the Big 12 Fast Channel.
Here are the top plays from this week's Freshman of the Week.
Because of the height advantage of TCU, so important that Kansas sets solid screens.
Nichols on the drive, drops it down to Davis for her first 2. Nichols.
At this pace, they may put up 30.
11 makes in conference play, 9 overall.
Yeah. Thank you.
On the drive, counted and won a chance. Went for 12 on 4 of 7 shooting for Kansas last time out. That was a win against Kansas State. That was spiked off the face of Sheffy. Kansas back the other way. And great response by the Jayhawks.
And beyond just the turnovers forced, TCU contested Kansas on 8 of their 11 field goal attempts. Again, they're putting a lot of pressure on this Kansas offense.
Told you that Davis wouldn't quit. TCU averaging 15 turns a game. There's Davis inside for 2 more. TCU cooling off from beyond the arc. They've missed their last 3 3-point attempts after going 6 for their first 6. Breakdown defensively for TCU.
That was a good read by Miles. Copeland went under that on-ball screen, so she just stopped and popped.
Davis, we're learning you can't stop her one-on-one. Muscles it up and one.
All the time Miles needed. And then
1 of 5 shooting. Again, she's got 9 20-plus ball games, 4-time reigning Big 12 Freshman of the Week, and muscles one home here.
Jalea Davis on that inbounds play just takes the opportunity against Betson. Up and under move, gets her defender up in the air.
Evans off the screen. Now on the bounce, gets Davis going down the lane, falling to the deck was Gooden, and it's going to be a blocking foul and one. Gooden fell early. You can see her kind of trying to get over there, but didn't quite get there in time.
Back inside Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, brought to you by Modelo, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. I'm James Westling. He is Ari Timken on social at Ari Sports, ARI Sports. I'm on social at James Westling, Taman and Anthony producing. This last hour of the show, we dive into portal season, talking transfers with BYU and what their off-season looks like. Number one, their transfer portal class, as it is every year, is very small. So what do you think when you think about BYU football and their offseason? Like, what's the first biggest headline in your mind?
Well, I mean, as we've done and gone through all these teams, nobody has the talent back in 26th from 25 like BYU. Bear Bachmeier, LJ Martin, Isaiah Glasker, and Evan Johnson. You could argue the top 4 most impactful and important players for BYU are back. And that doesn't say anything about Parker Kingston and some of the other guys. So, like, they've got a ton back. And while they didn't add a ton in the portal, they added some substance in the portal. They added a linebacker from Cal who is an all ACC performer. They added Ryder Lyons, who is going to be a 5-star quarterback coming in next year. They added his brother Walker Lyons, a tight end from USC, who's a high-end receiving tight end threat. So I think, they added a ton up front on the offensive line with Sia, Finau, and Yamauchi, if that's how you say it. So, they haven't added a ton of the portal. They didn't really need to. Their best, most impactful players are back more so than any other team. Even we'll do Texas Tech tomorrow to close this thing out. And, for the players that Tech returns, it's not even close to the level of BYU. This is the reason I think BYU should be the favorite heading into next season.
On paper.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's what they bring back. The only loss they have is Jay Hill, their defensive coordinator.
So he goes to Michigan to be the defensive coordinator for Kyle Whittingham, which at Michigan, their coaching positions have names dedicated to them. It's very weird. He's not just the defensive coordinator at Michigan. Jay Hill is the Matt and Nicole Lester family defensive coordinator at the University of Michigan. I haven't seen that anywhere else in the country.
That's an interesting one.
So Jay Hill was named the Matt and Nicole Lester family defensive coordinator at the University of Michigan.
Is he also coordinating the family's defense?
It's at the dining room table.
How much does that cost?
To have your name associated with a coaching position?
Yeah.
I don't even want to imagine. I bet a lot.
$1 million at least?
I think we should do that here.
Yeah. I love it.
Taman Turner is the Ari Timken family producer of Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio.
Oh, I don't have the money for that. No, absolutely not.
I'm staying in an Airbnb. All right, so with Jay Hill gone, one thing that I did note is, so not a single defensive starter from BYU left to go with him, and only one player transferred to Michigan from BYU, Max Alford, a linebacker, who's a 3-star portal kid, 6'1", 230. So unlike Utah, where a lot of those guys went with Whittingham and are going to be on that defense that Jay Hill will be coordinating, only one BYU kid did. So you look at their outgoing transfers, it's about a dozen. They've got 9 coming in, a very small number, smallest in the Big 12. The next smallest is TCU. But it does come down to all the guys they have coming back. I don't see a single starter that transferred out. And LJ Martin is not in the NFL draft. He's back at BYU. Bear Bachmeier is back at BYU. And then to your point, they've kind of supplemented their offensive and defensive lines. They add a kid in the secondary from Mississippi State, Javen Williams. They add a linebacker from Cal. They add a tight end from Oregon, whose last name I'm not going to even attempt to pronounce, but we'll know it by week 3 or week 4 because tight ends are a huge part of their offense. Watch out. Watch out for the Cougs. This linebacker, by the way, Cade Ulave from Cal, 4-star transfer portal kid, expected to be an impact plug-and-play guy right away.
Yeah, he was started 11 of 12 for Cal, was all ACC, and led the team with 100 total tackles. You're getting as good of a defensive player as you could possibly get in the portal. And to your point about the transfers, it says a lot about the type of program that Kalani Sitake is running. When Jay Hill, who was the head coach at Weber State, came back to be the defensive coordinator at BYU, a lot of players came with him from Weber State's defense. And so, not to say it says a lot that they didn't go with him to Michigan, but it says a lot about the program that Kalani Sitake has. Because Hill left Weber State with a ton of his defensive players, and he leaves BYU without any of them. So, as many good things as we could say about Kalani Sitake, and there's a ton, the program that he runs doesn't have as much turnover, and that is why this is one of the teams that is expected to be the best in the Big 12 next year. It's a reason why we've done this series, and this is the 15th team we're talking about out of 16 teams as we work our way up through the standings.
They're bringing in 2 NFL-ready tight ends. The kid from Oregon and this kid from USC.
Yeah, Walker Lyons, who's Ryder Lyons' brother.
6'4", 250. You look at the 9 guys that they've brought in, they're guys that all come from major programs. Oregon, Mississippi State, Stanford, Cal, Kansas State. Jake Clifton started games for K-State at linebacker last year. a receiver from Oregon, a Washington offensive lineman who's 6'5", 310. Like, they didn't just supplement the roster and the guys they have coming back with scrubs. Like, they brought in some dudes.
Apparently, I'm calling people on my phone, on my in my pocket. I just got 2 texts asking for if I pocket dialed. I guess, yeah.
Live on air, he's making calls.
Making tons of calls.
That's amazing.
Endless amounts of calls. But then I get like 3 texts like, did you just pocket dial me? Yeah, I did. I absolutely did. And look, I think as we've made our way through this series, like, to me, it's almost reinforces the idea that this is going to be a top-heavy conference, because there's just a lot of teams replacing a ton of production at important positions, and what BYU was able to do is just fortify. I mean, every level of their offense, every level of their defense has returning players. So, I mean, when you add a linebacker that had 100 total tackles last year at Cal and was all ACC, and then you already have Glasgow, you already have Evan Johnson at the back end of that defense, as opposed to some of these other teams we talk about that are trying to replace important key positions. I mean, that's where BYU has such a leg up. They get to spring camp and fall camp, and I mean, it's like they're just reiterating the things that they already did and have been successful in.
Chase Roberts is out of eligibility. Carson Ryan, the tight end, is out of eligibility. Those guys have departed. But, like, you look at their wide receiver room, they've got...
And that's where they did the most damage to the portal, wide receiver and tight end.
Yep. They loaded up. Bear Bachmeier has some serious weapons. They still have Cody Hagan back. They still have Parker Kingston back. Still have JoJo Phillips back. They have Nakua's little brother back. They've got Tiger Bachmeier back. And then I think, like, of all these guys, the guy, at least offensively, that maybe I'm most excited about is Kyler Casper. Remember that name. He is a wide receiver who's transferred in from Oregon. He is 6'6", 6'6", 210 pounds. He's from Gilbert, Arizona. He was a 4-star wide receiver out of high school. He had over 1,300 yards, 11 touchdowns his senior year in high school at a big school. He was a top 30 wide receiver nationally. His dad played receiver at Iowa and then played 8 seasons in the NFL. Now at Oregon, he got hurt in 2024. So he redshirted his first year, and then as a freshman couldn't get on the field. Well, then he got hurt. And then last year he's playing catch-up behind all those high-profile wide receivers that they had, and he couldn't get on the field. He played in 23 games over 4 seasons. But, like, his raw athletic ability with his catch radius and his size, that is a weapon for Bear Bachmeier.
Yeah, and, I mean, look, I think with some of these guys, like, there's probably a reason they didn't see the field. I mean, I think with Oregon, like, they have just so many weapons. It's insane how they do with recruiting, especially at the skill position. But whenever I'm breaking this stuff down, the number one thing I'm looking for is snaps and production, right? Because certainly some of these guys are going to work out that didn't produce or don't have a ton of snaps. Some of them are going to work out, just seeing more snaps. But I think the majority of the guys that are going to be most successful in the portal are the guys that have produced at other levels and produced at other schools. And that's what you're seeing with Cal. You mentioned Jake Clifton, a linebacker from Kansas State. I think the biggest question I have would be along their offensive line. They added a ton of the portal there. And, I mean, I think probably more importantly, I mean, it's 3 offensive linemen they've added in Junior Sia from Utah State, Finau from Washington, and then Yamuchi from Stanford. All 3 of those guys going to be counted on in terms of the guys they lost on their offensive line. Those are going to be hugely impactful players. But, I mean, Finau appeared in 12 of 13 games and 25 at Washington, started 4 games at left guard, also saw snaps at right tackle. Junior Sia from Utah State, 10 of 11 games, started in 2025. And, I mean, played meaningful competition, and including a Texas A&M game. And then Zach Yamauchi, Stanford transfer at the offensive line, 8 games, 3 starts as a true freshman last year in 2025, was part of that same class as Bear Bachmeier.
Like, they are set up so well for the future. When you think about their 2 5-star recruits, their tight end, Brock Harris, and their quarterback, Ryder Lyons, they're both serving 1-year missions, right? So the timeline for this 5-star quarterback, Ryder Lyons, so he's serving a Spanish-speaking mission in Orlando, Florida. He's going to do that for a year, okay? So he's doing that now. he will be back to BYU re-enrolled for the 2024 or 2027 season. We're not going back in time.
I didn't think so. I was about to follow you down a path that I didn't know where we were going, but I was going to follow you.
I mean, time travel. I pod, bro. All right. So, Rider Lions. Think about this, though.
Where we're going, they don't have roads.
Rider Lions will be back for 2027. Bear Bachmeier will be a junior. Either he's off to the NFL after that year or he's coming back for his senior year. Either way, Rider Lions is the backup for a year or two, and then you have like an NFL-ready quarterback waiting in the wings to be the guy, throwing the ball to Brock Harris, who's the number 1 tight end in the country for this class. Like, BYU is here, and they are here to stay.
Well, an offensive line has always been a strength of this program. And so, yeah, I mean, I think when you look at the long-term success of BYU, we shouldn't be surprised by it because nobody's won more of the last 2 seasons in the Big 12 than BYU. So, we should expect that they would win at the highest level again next year. I mean, this is the most underrated program in college football. Kalani Sitake is the most underrated coach in college football.
And there's a ton of data that supports that in terms of where teams are ranked in the preseason and where they finish. Nobody's finished higher than their preseason ranking in the last 25 years than BYU.
And the same thing is going to happen again. Like, is BYU in some of these way too early top 25s?
Yes, I've seen them, but I've seen them lower than you would think. I've seen them anywhere from like 13 to 15, 17 range. So I do think finally they'll start in the AP top 20 of the top 25 poll. But it'll be the first time in a long time.
Would they go 12-2 last year?
Yeah, they won their bowl game.
12-2.
12-2.
With a true freshman quarterback who was not there in spring.
18-year-old kid.
Lost to a historically great defense twice. Yeah. With a true freshman quarterback who wasn't there in spring. That's the only loss they had all year.
What's the biggest game on their schedule?
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
Yeah.
October 17th in Provo. That's it.
Yeah, I'm not a big must-win guy, but that's a must-win game for BYU. It's a must-win.
Like that is a game that the entire Big 12 nation needs to rally behind BYU in support of this league, because that's the chance for the league to gain a tremendous amount of prestige and pedigree from one game featuring one of these 16 member institutions. It helps everybody.
And let me just add some more context to that. That's a must-win game. I think for the obvious reasons, but also because if the Big 12 wants to have a second bid, not to say that BYU won't win the Big 12, because again, they're going to be my favorites heading into this season. But if they want a second bid, that win could go a long way. Because remember, Notre Dame gets in automatically as a top 12 team.
Mm-hmm.
So a win over Notre Dame, especially that late in the season, what week is it?
It's Saturday, October 17th. It's like week 7.
So, I mean, that
kind of in the middle of the season.
That late in the season to have that, I mean, depending on obviously what the rest of BYU's schedule is, that win would go a long way in the overall conference narrative.
Yeah, and Notre Dame agreed to this game because they think they can win it. Like, Notre Dame, they dropped USC, or USC dropped them. They could have gone out and scheduled Northern Illinois or Marshall or Boston College. Right. But they wanted a game against a top 25 team that they think they're going to walk in and have no problems with. And BYU's going to be very ready to introduce themselves to the Fighting Irish. I cannot wait for that.
By the way, I think Notre Dame plays Boston College every year.
Yeah, they do. They do play every year. All right? This is just the first one that came to my mind.
Also, we didn't...
And they're bad. They're really bad.
We also did not talk at all about the fact that you said you're a big fan of neuroscience.
Yeah. Brain stuff, bro.
No, I'm well aware. Just the first time I ever heard you talk about that.
That's not true. Is it? All the weird stuff I'm talking about, I figured that was just out there.
No, never heard you say I'm a big fan of neuroscience.
Now I understand the side eye. The side, he's looking at me like, are you?
Yeah. Just a huge fan. I sit at home and read science.
I pod, bro. Science boy.
Science papers on neuroscience.
My wife likes to call me science boy. Bet you didn't know that, science boy. because I'm actually terrible at science.
Chronic traumatic encephalopathy. What do you know?
Wow. Say that one more time.
CTE, James.
Ah, got it, CTE.
Chronic traumatic encephalopathy.
Yeah, that's why my kids aren't playing football, but I love it. I love to watch it. Love to watch it. Love to be in the trenches behind the mic.
All right, science boy.
All right, we'll take a break. Coming up next, we're talking with Mitch Harper from KSL Sports, BYU's insider, about their offseason portal moves. That's around the corner. He's Ari. I'm James on Big 12 Radio. Check out the top plays from the Big 12 women's basketball starting five.
One of their superstars in Tess Heel out for the second straight game as she deals with an eligibility issue. Walker pickpockets Garcia. Step around and lay it.
On the road in a bit of a rock fight, but for Kansas State, it's with their defense. One of 7 steals there by Terrence Sides. Gina Garcia able to finish on the bounce, as well as use that pick and roll, one of the few possessions where Kansas State got execution. Jordan Spicer, this is where if you're Colorado, you have to convert.
Walker left open for a 3. She got it!
That's a big one right there.
Coach Payne really praised Masagayo, saying that as talented as she is, she's so extremely humble, almost to a fault. And for them to be successful, she needs to be aggressive, and that's really what we're seeing right now from the Buffs.
Walker on the other end, able to lay it in. They do have a few, including Spicer, who are near 90%. Just some others that are well below 50%. Walker dared to take the 3. She'll hit it.
Gotta give the credit to the defenses so far.
Rip in the backcourt here, and lay-in is up and good by Walker.
And that's what you do if you're...
Maya Nichols averaging 18 a game on the season. 5 assists as well on the year. A nice little fadeaway jumper that time from Walker.
But she can get out there and make some things happen.
How about that double high screen for Kansas there? Pinched Walker for a second, but Walker has the last laugh, the rip and the run.
They have to finish those around the basket, but what great defense to not allow that pass over the top on the other end.
Walker splits the defense down the lane, and
It is Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. You're watching us on Big 12 Studios. He's Ari, I'm James. We're brought to you by Modelo. And talking BYU this hour, part of our Transfer Portal Tracker Series, we welcome in Mitch Harper, the BYU insider for KSL Sports. Hey, Mitch, good morning.
Ari, James, good morning. Happy to be on today and talk some transfer portal. It's always fun to get ready for another football season.
Well, one of our fan rules, courtesy of Modelo, is that off-season optimism is mandatory. So we do it with all 16 Big 12 schools. And with BYU, only 9 incoming transfers. I guess of the group that's coming in, how many of those guys do you see as developmental guys versus guys that need to be on the field, maybe starting like right away?
Well, the 9 guys was strategic, James. BYU retained its roster. That was a 12-2 football team and was in the Big 12 championship game. So pretty much what you saw in Arlington this past December, majority of that team is back. And then you just plug in some of the gaps that they had. And some of the impact guys, I'd say about 3 guys are going to be impactful. You start off with Kedu Luave, the number 1 linebacker in the transfer portal, according to 24/7 Sports. He comes in from Cal, was an all-ACC linebacker. He steps into that Jack Kelly role that Kelly leaves behind, and he joins a linebacker unit with Isaiah Glasker, who's been an all-Big 12 performer, Sialia Serra, a really promising player. Kedu Luave's got 4.4 speed, impactful. I mean, he's going to be an instant impact player for BYU in their defense that has a retooled coaching staff with Kelly Papinga replacing Jay Hill as the defensive coordinator as Jay Hill left for Michigan. And then the on the offensive side, you look at tight end Walker Lyons from USC. Started some games for the Trojans, kind of in a really deep tight end unit for USC. I think he steps in. He's tight end 1 for BYU, kind of takes over that Carson Ryan role. And Carson Ryan was a really solid player for BYU at tight end, and I would say probably gave BYU its best production at the tight end position since the Cougars have joined the Big 12. I think Walker Lyons, though, can take it to a higher level. I think he's a potential NFL tight end. Older brother to BYU signee quarterback Ryder Lyons. Walker's got 2 years of eligibility remaining. He has the chance to be teammates with his brother when Ryder returns home from a mission with the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints coming up in 2027. So those would probably be the most impactful guys. I think the third one I'd look at is Paki Finau from Washington. He could come in and be an instant contributor on that offensive line.
One of the things that is amazing to me is the lack of losing players in the portal. When you think about all the players that Jay Hill brought in to BYU from Weber State when he came in, and then he doesn't leave with anybody. So can you just speak to Satake, what he's able to do from a cultural standpoint that makes it attractive to stay at BYU?
Kalani has built a really impressive culture. It's built on love and learning is what they always say, and it can sometimes as a media member get a little bit tiresome to always hear that, but these players do believe it, and they showed that by staying on board. Because to your point with Jay Hill, a lot of the Weber State guys had exhausted their eligibility, but guys like Afalatau Satuwala, a second-team All-American, going to be one of the faces of BYU's defense at the back end at safety next season. I think one of the top safeties in the Big 12 next year. Easily, had he hit the portal, Michigan and a long list of others would have been knocking on the door to get a guy like Falatau Satuwala. He stayed. He didn't even entertain the transfer portal. And the moment that Jay Hill was officially announced as Michigan's DC, he puts out a graphic that just clears the air and says, run it back. And, Kalani Sitake is a demanding coach like any, but, man, he's got a great personality that I think players want to play for him. And I think there's this sense that even though they've won 23 games over the last 2 years, the most in the 16-team era of this conference, BYU feels like there's still a lot left on the table to accomplish as a program. And guys like Afalatau Satuwala and LJ Martin, who's the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year returning, they want to get the job done. Go win the Big 12. Go get into the playoff. Because really, these last 2 years, despite winning all those games, it still seems like nationally there's no respect given to BYU. And these guys, I think, really want to finish the job and get BYU over the hump and become a program that becomes what Kalani's talked about, building a juggernaut. He turned down Penn State, Kalani did, to run it back at BYU, be at his alma mater, a place that he's always wanted to be at, but they needed to level up the resources, BYU did. And now they've got the chance, they've got the stability, they've got the structure to where these players, they know they're going to be pretty much coached by these guys, this staff. They've retooled it a little bit, of course, with the defensive side, losing Jarrell Guilford and Jay Hill. But, this is their coaching staff, and these players are going to have these guys. They're not going to make changes. They're big on retention and continuity, and Kalani wants to take this thing to an even higher level, and I think a lot of players are really motivated by that. And BYU's got the enhanced resource, like I said. There's a big financial commitment to this football program, more than ever before since they joined the Big 12. BYU wants to go all in and win at the highest levels, and they're chasing that, and I think that's why you're seeing a retention-based roster plugged in with some impact guys out of the portal.
Mitch, can you add anything on this wide receiver from Oregon, Kyler Casper, who is 6'6", 210 pounds, was a 4-star top 30 kid out of high school? I look at this wide receiving room now as just being absolutely loaded for BYU.
The wide receiver spot is at a pretty good spot for BYU. Casper's interesting because when you talk about impact guys, I think he's going to be given every opportunity to play right away for BYU. They lose Chase Roberts due to eligibility being exhausted. He went to the East-West Shrine game this past week. But Casper's dealt with multiple injuries at Oregon, 2 different foot injuries. He just never played, really. So it's kind of like an incomplete where he's been 4 years at Oregon. Heralded guy, was kind of projected to be maybe a 2-deep guy at least, and someone that was going to be in the rotation in Oregon's program and play. But injuries have always derailed his potential and availability in games. So the talent, as you laid out, James, it's undeniable. I mean, he's got the accolades and the resume that would say that this should be an impact guy, and the size alone makes him an intriguing prospect, but he's just never been healthy. And if he can stay healthy, it's a big-bodied target for Bear Bachmeier to throw to in the passing attack, to pair up with Parker Kingston, who's going to probably return as BYU's wide receiver 1, and for good reason. Parker Kingston led BYU in receiving yards, more than 900 yards a season ago, and we know with him he can even dabble in the specials that BYU likes to throw out, those trick plays with throwing the football as his background as a quarterback in high school. They've got intriguing options. JoJo Phillips is someone that they really like, and he's someone that I don't think took as big of a leap as I think expectations were for last year for him. He was dealing with a shoulder injury after that Stanford game and then returned in that November game against Texas Tech. And you've still got, Cody Hagan, who could be, a Parker Kingston type, but is someone talented enough, former 4-star player, could line up outside of that X spot. And then, Tiger Bachmeier, too. Never really saw him get going last season. He had some struggles in the return game. There was a lot of depth at wide receiver. We'll see if Tiger, Bear's brother, makes a bigger impact next season, too. They've got Puka Nakua's younger brother, Tay Nakua, as well, returning. A lot of good options. And then they bring in a heralded recruit, too, from Lone Peak, Jaron Pula, who they flipped from Utah. He's an impact freshman who could be a name to watch for BYU this season as well.
For me, it comes down to Bear Bachmeier taking that next step, Mitch. I mean, what do you see from him? He obviously was so impressive year 1 as a true freshman who hadn't spent spring at BYU. What do you expect to see on him year 2 here?
I think Bear's going to, I'm really fascinated to see what that step is, too, because what he did getting this BYU program to the Big 12 championship game when he arrived in June, really had no real sort of off season. And when he arrived, it was thrown in the fire to start preparing as the number 1 right away. When Jake Retzloff was faced with his situation, then Retzloff goes to Tulane. So actually having a full, winter conditioning, I think the top priority right now, just get healthy because it's season's in. We saw in that Big 12 title game and the bowl game, he was a bit hobbled. But still, in games where, an LJ Martin is out, think back to the Iowa State game in October, the bowl game against Georgia Tech. Bear Bachmeier, even at times hobbled or limited offensively in terms of the personnel around him, he was able to put up big numbers through the air. And I think that was promising because I point to those spots because it was pretty evident BYU was one-dimensional. They leaned so heavily into LJ Martin, and they're going to lean heavily on him again this season. But, Bear Bachmeier, I thought, showed a greater ability to throw the football than I think he got credit for. And I think that, Aaron Roderick, the offensive coordinator for BYU, he's quietly done a really nice job with quarterback development. And I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that I think Bear will naturally take that next step. And I think Bear, too, personality-wise, he's just a really grounded guy. I don't think the spotlight gets to him much. And I think that's, kind of promising, because sometimes that spotlight can be overwhelming for players sometimes, and the heightened expectations, because he is, BYU and Provo, they kind of celebritize their players. I mean, it's a big deal, BYU football is, and Bear having a name like that, he's just a magnet for attention and celebrity status. But I think he's still pretty grounded. He's still kind of the same guy that he was when he arrived on campus. And I think that he's going to take a big step forward. I do. And I think, too, how BYU utilizes him with the running the football as well. I mean, he was BYU's second leading rusher. Do they still rely on that, or do they scale that back to keep him upright and keep him healthy? Because I thought that was significant in the Big 12 championship when he got hobbled on that first drive, because they looked so good. And then when he got banged up, I thought that changed the game quite a bit. So keeping him healthy will be critical, because after him, there's not much proven depth in that quarterback unit right now.
Is the plan then Bears the quarterback at least the next 2 seasons? By then, Lyons is on campus. He's a backup for a year or two, and then he takes over?
I would think so. I think, Kalani's always been big on having, a quarterback factory. Kalani tries to embrace the traditions of BYU, and Kalani's always talked about it. I'm sure he said it to you guys. He grew up a BYU fan. And when Kalani grew up a BYU fan, it was a program centered around elite quarterback play and building up a quarterback factory in the 80s. And, in Kalani's tenure, I mean, he's had Zach Wilson, he's had Jaron Hall, 2 NFL draft picks. Keaton Slovis is still bouncing around the NFL. Jake Retzloff, he was successful that season at BYU, and heck, he got Tulane to a college football playoff, and he'll have a chance, whatever it may be. So there's been good strings of quarterbacks. And I think that can tell a guy like Ryder Lyons, like, hey, stay the course, stay patient. But Ryder Lyons, his talent is undeniable. I mean, talk about arm talent. I mean, he is a big-time player. He's the highest-rated recruit BYU signed since the early 2000s. That's a big-time getting him. But I think that, staying the course, I mean, the Lyons family, they're all in on BYU. And, there's a great relationship between Kalani and Ryder Lyons and Aaron Roderick. And but I would assume that would be the timeline. But, I think that Kalani is always big on creating sort of competitions, whatever that may look like. But I think that Bear deserved the right to be that starting quarterback for the foreseeable future. And then Ryder Lyons steps in and he becomes the guy, learns under Bear a little bit, and then he elevates to that number 1 spot. But, I mean, that just seems naive, though, to just assume that's going to be the course, because with the portal always available and player movement – but I think that, again, what we've seen from BYU in this portal cycle with retention and going back to that culture, you think that maybe that could win the day if guys are truly bought into that. And I think so far, from what I've seen from Ryder Lyons, he has been bought into that.
Mitch Harper does a great job of covering BYU for KSL Sports, and he's joining us here in our BYU portal season breakdown. Mitch, should BYU be the favorites of the Big 12?
I'd still go Texas Tech. I think that their transfer portal class is really impressive. The 21 guys that they added. I mean, gosh, they get like a guy like David Bailey clone out of Allen University. I'm like, where do they find these guys, Texas Tech? So I think Tech still deserves to be the favorite. I think that they've got great top end talent again. And I think Sorsby, even though I don't know if he's a $5 million guy, what's been thrown out there, but I think he's an upgrade from Baron Morton. So I would give the nod still to Texas Tech, and I think their schedule too sets up quite well. I mean, their toughest home games are probably in Lubbock. So Mitch. I think for BYU, I think what's interesting about BYU this year is I feel like they've got maybe a little bit greater margin for error for the at-large pool to the playoff with that Notre Dame game, and I think that's kind of the X factor here in this season for BYU compared to the past 2 years where they've been out of sight, out of mind on Selection Sunday. 2 years ago, they had that SMU game where in the moment, no one took it seriously, like it was a potential playoff impact game, but it ended up being that way. But we all forgot about it, seemed like nationally, at the end of the season, and BYU kind of got lost in the shuffle. Where that Notre Dame game, though, is in October 17th, and I'm sure that was a headache for Scott Draper and the Big 12 to kind of schedule around that thing. But getting that game, I think, is big time, because I would expect Notre Dame's probably going to be really good, and I think BYU is probably the second best team in the Big 12. I think they've got a margin for error potentially with that game. If they can win that, maybe they can have a slip up in the Big 12, because I do think that this league has got probably like 5 teams that I think should be a preseason top 25 type of team in this conference. So I think the schedule is pretty good. I think it's set up in a way to where BYU can really build some momentum with its ranking, because we've seen in this college football playoff with the 12 team, clearly the playoff committee acknowledged that preseason rankings, when Mack Rhodes is the playoff committee chair, he's acknowledging when Alabama had a 4-week stretch of beating ranked teams, and I'm thinking those rankings were in September and October when playoff rankings didn't exist. So clearly you're factoring in the AP top 25 to gauge where these top 25 teams are. So BYU starting high, I would expect, and having games like Notre Dame, having an Arizona game in week 2, narrative games that can really build up BYU's profile in this playoff race. I think that helps BYU's cause this year, I would like to think. So, and I think this is a really tough schedule again. So I think BYU should be second in the preseason poll. It's a different year, though, for BYU. They're now an upperclassman in the Big 12. Year 4, they're not going to go into Frisco this summer and be just kind of this underdog. What can you become this year, where they're going to be looked upon to be a real, impact team in the Big 12 and factor into this championship race. And that's what BYU's been wanting since they joined this conference, is the chance to really elevate their profile as a program. And that moment is now. And BYU hasn't always been great when it comes to seasons with high expectations. The last time you go to that where you have a preseason top 25 ranking was 2022. They finished with 8 wins. Usually it's the underdog BYU teams going into a year where they deliver high results. That's going to be the challenge for Kalani Sitake's program. But again, I think that they're so motivated where they feel like they've been slept on the past 2 years, they can still play a little bit of that chip on the shoulder, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Can still play that card, and they will be elevated in terms of the preseason. Mitch Harper from KSL Sports joining us. Great stuff, Mitch. Appreciate your time.
You bet, guys. Take care.
Mitch Harper, BYU insider, KSL Sports, breaking down the BYU offseason, their schedule, the impact of that Notre Dame game for not just BYU, but for the college football playoff picture. We'll wrap up the show coming up next. He's Ari, I'm James. This is Big 12 Radio.
Check out the top plays from the Big 12 men's basketball starting 5.
Fulks hesitation and the spin. What a finish by Themis Fulks. Good recovery by the Sun Devils.
I thought maybe we should have a lot of contact on that finish off.
Fulks gets to the 10 and lays it in. Yeah, maybe just a subtle push from behind there. Chance to make it a one-possession game. Fulks spins, elevates, and gets a friendly bounce.
That's what they do so well.
Ken Palm has Texas Tech as the number 8 offense in terms of efficiency, but right now they're 1 for 4 3-point shooters. Just one of the many talents of number 4 in red. But Fulks with a blow-by, he's got 4. He's now 10 points shy of 1,000 in his career. Chris Johnson out to Fulks, high off the glass, and Themis Fulks.
Houston game, but they need his scoring, especially in a game like this.
UCF with the ball and a 4-point lead. Now make it a 6-point lead.
It's just keeping the rock and going coast to coast.
Fulks turns the corner with the left hand. Fulks takes it himself from the left side. Graham McCaslin says, I have 100% trust in him. He makes all the right plays all the time. But Fulks has an answer himself. This game has really slowed down offensively. What a drive from Themis Fulks.
It's the final chapter of Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. He's Ari, I'm James. Coming to you each Monday through Friday, 8A to 11A. Our game of the week this Saturday will be Houston at BYU men's basketball. BYU, if they fall at Oklahoma State midweek, like they've got a tough stretch coming up, as does just about everybody in the Big 12. Scheduled that way intentionally, and it's been perfection. We're brought to you, the Full-Time Fan, by Modelo. It's a takeaway Tuesday. Darren Peterson is a dog. We talked about the Senior Bowl, played some Valid or Void. We had Matt Tate to break down KU's win over Texas Tech last night, courtesy of his site, Wave the Wheat. Ann O'Neill was on the show, ESPN women's basketball analyst, Iowa State alum and All-American player there. And then Mitch Harper just joined us, the BYU insider for KSL Sports. No Big 12 games tonight on the men's side. Full slate tomorrow night. How's the new?
Well, let me ask you something first before we get to that.
Okay.
So you know this. Taman knows this as well. You know, I've been at times unhinged on this show relative to Darren Peterson.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah, unhinged is an accurate description. Wheels off, unhinged.
So just very expressive.
Expressive. That's a good way to put unhinged, I think.
Are you eating some crow?
So this is what I'm trying to get to here. Because I've been thinking a lot about that over these last, let's call it 48 hours. Because this has been a wild swing within the Darren Peterson's train here. Should we now know, like, what the deal is here? Like, there's no surprises here. We know what the deal is. Right?
The deal being load management, or the deal being he's had a plethora of injuries? Do we know?
I think we could read between the lines here.
Fair.
Like adults. And say that, you know, Darren Peterson is doing as much as he can without doing too much. Darren Peterson is concerned only with his best own self-interest, which, by the way, shouldn't we all be? I'm not going to disparage him for doing so. Which means that he's not necessarily all in on Kansas. I'm trying to have you help me get through this, because what I don't want to happen is me lose my mind if Kansas is eliminated in the NCAA tournament because we watch Darren Peterson on the bench for an entire second half while his team, you know, goes down the drain.
Mm-hmm.
Because last night was fun.
Very fun.
And last night kind of dared me to dream in a way that I'm a little concerned about.
So where...
Does any of this make sense to you?
Yes.
I guess I'm trying to say, like, should we just all realize that, like, yeah, Darren may make decisions that the group around him may make decisions that are not in the best interest of Kansas, but they're in his own best self-interest, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. But you're the guy that roots for Kansas versus Darren Peterson. So I'm trying to figure out a way, an analogy where I can grasp my thoughts around this.
The best analogy I've heard on this is you order a $150 steak that's bone in. It's the greatest steak you've ever had, and they're like, take a bite. That's yummy. Take one more bite. That's yummy. Okay, that's enough, and they take the full steak away.
Yeah. From your perspective, that totally
kind
makes
of
sense.
what the Darren Peterson experience has been like.
All right.
Last night I got to eat the full steak. It was delicious.
So he is better when he's on the floor than I realized earlier in the year. That's number one. That's one takeaway that I have after last night. Like
and you thought he was good. He's even better than you thought he was.
Exactly. He is Rookie of the Year, NBA ready right now.
Yeah.
Clear-cut number one pick. He's incredible. I've never seen a college basketball player in my lifetime. There have been guys probably that went straight to the NBA that would have been, you know, really good players. I've never seen a player in college basketball.
If I were a Mavs fan, I would take Darren Peterson 9 times out of 10 over Cooper Flagg today.
Yeah, they rigged the wrong lottery. The lottery was this year, right?
So true.
But yeah, like it's a weird balancing act, because if ESPN called you and said, Ari, we want you to be our number one guy on ESPN radio, I'd be thrilled for you, right? We're going to pay you 5 times as much as whatever they're paying you. But here's the deal. You've got to come tomorrow. Like, you've got to leave tomorrow. You've got to leave James and Taman and Anthony and everybody else high and dry. You would do it, right?
No, but I'll follow
You
along.
would do it.
I mean, I'm not moving to Bristol, Connecticut for the love
You
of
know
God.
what I mean? A hypothetical.
No, totally.
A
Yes.
hypothetical.
Yes.
All right. We're going to pay you 20 times more, right? You would do it.
All
It
right,
would
now we're
suck.
talking. You said 5 at first.
Let's
now
go 20.
times
Let's go
more.
20. All right.
$20 would be great to
Very
do the show.
rigid. Has to be very specific. 20 times more.
You're like, just shut up and
Right.
follow me.
Like, it would suck for us, but we would understand at the same time because it's a tremendous opportunity for you who's got to protect your number one asset, which is yourself and your family, which is what Darren Peterson is doing, what his agent is doing. It sucks for us as Kansas fans that want to see him on the floor, but it's like, it's hard to be super pissed about it because I get it.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I've been waiting basically all season for you to compare me to Darren Peterson, so thank you for finally doing it.
You're welcome. You are DP.
So this now let's get back to the initial question, which is like, is this like sit down a Kansas fan and tell them like your season could end with Darren Peterson on the bench. Now it could go the opposite way, but it feels more likely than not that your season's going to end with Darren Peterson on the bench. Should we be okay with that?
No, because what evidence is there present day that he's going to end the season on the bench when there's been an uptick in minutes and he finally just played an entire game?
That's fair.
Right?
fair.
Like he just played an entire game.
Yeah, he
Now,
played 35 minutes. I mean, you're not going to ask for much more than that.
if there's regression, if he's sitting the second half of the Houston game or the Arizona game, and he doesn't appear to be injured, and the game's very much in reach, like even the BYU game, guys, KU was up by 20. Like KU he gave them a ginormous margin for error.
Yeah.
Where they didn't need him in the second half. Now they're going to need him against Arizona and Houston, and they needed him last night, and he showed up.
Yeah. No, you're right. And look, I mean, I think, like, who knows how I'll feel when we get there? It's almost as if it's like I'm ready to be hurt here. Kansas fans are putting him poised to be ready to be hurt.
We call that a KITN, kicking the.
You know what? Yeah. What does T stand for?
The.
Oh, got it. Yep.
Kicking the.
Yep. There you go.
It's the the.
The.
Yeah.
KITN.
Soft T.
It's just like last night. I hope it wasn't as good as it gets for Darren Peterson in Kansas. I'm afraid that it might be. But to your point, this could be a huge. Like I'm looking at this like this is the top. This is as good as it's going to get. And you're looking at like, what if they've turned a corner here, and this is now what you should expect moving forward.
Exactly.
Both of those things can be true. Time will tell.
Exactly.
The problem is, if they turn the corner now, and we're seeing 35, 36 minutes for Peterson.
Yeah.
Like I'm at a point right now where I'm like, okay, I don't think I'll see this team winning a national championship this year, and I'm okay with that.
There you go.
I mean, as much as I could be, because I think that the way this season will end is kind of how this season's gone. But if they start putting together games that looked like last night, not necessarily where he hits 2 threes to win the game for him, but where he's playing like he's capable of, and then the KITN comes,
that would be a gut punch. You're protecting yourself. Your armor is up for what could be coming. Could also be a hell of a run.
I guess I'm just trying to figure out how Kansas fans and really basketball fans should feel about this. He has to go to college. He has to be 1 year removed from high school. So he has to play the game, right? He's got to play the game. He's being forced to go to
Literally
college.
Has to be in college. Mm-hmm.
So, or he could have sat out, whatever. He couldn't go straight to the draft. So given the circumstances he's got, he's dealing with that as best he could in order to maximize his talent. This happened, the same thing happened at Legacy. Same thing happened in high school for him. So it's clear there is a clear line here between the type of player we want you to be in terms of wear and tear by the time you get to the NBA.
Mm-hmm. Because based off of what we've seen, there are NBA scouts that do this for a living that probably knew at the age of 15 or 16 he was the next NBA superstar.
Yeah, I'm reading a book right now to my son called Never Die Easy. It's the Walter Payton autobiography. And the entire premise is never die easy, right? He never got out of bounds. He always took the hits. He always took the shots. And it's like, whether it's in football or in life, never die easy. Don't take the easy way out. don't be afraid of conflict. Don't be afraid of contact. Don't be afraid of any of that stuff. And it feels like it just is a great lesson to teach kids or ourselves, but also at the same time, like we're inundated with that not happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's good or bad. It's just kind of what it is, right?
Yeah.
I think what Derek Peterson is doing is the right thing. The fan inside me hates it. But I think what he's doing is the right thing.
Yeah. It's a weird battle mentally and emotionally for this season that is playing out before our eyes. It's a lot of tea. Deep thinker. I like it. He's Ari Timken. I'm James West.
Neuroscience in you.
We're back tomorrow. We'll be power ranking a ton of tremendous guests, including Kat Osterman's going to be on the show. We're breaking down a Texas Tech transfer portal off-season on tomorrow's program. But for today, for Taman Turner, for Anthony Smith, for Ari Timken, I'm James Westling. We're out of here. See you tomorrow morning on Big 12 Radio and Big 12 Studios.